Jim, 1 2 1 2.
Hello. Hello.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me, Jim?
Yes, I can.
Very good.
Okay.
Muted.
1 2 1 2.
From the very beginning, from the early.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
1 2 1 2. Chip, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Once I open the mics, make sure you self-mute, please. We're going to begin in a couple of minutes. Rubiel, 1 2 1 2.
Hey, Richard?
Yeah.
Hear me?
Got you loud and
I'm
clear.
good.
Perfect.
I got you, Richard.
All right, I'm going to leave the mics open. You just self-mute until we'll bring you in, all right?
Perfect. Thank you.
Unmuted.
Dr. Joe, audio check 1 2 1 2.
Two, checking, 1 2 3 4.
Perfect. I'm going to leave the mic open. You can self-mute until we bring you in.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. We're ready to go. We're just waiting for one more presenter to log in, and we'll be ready to go. So while we do that, welcome everybody to a new edition of RWISOA Webinar Series. This is week number 7. Now I'm being distracted here. It's not my fault. Whose mic is open? Somebody's mic is open. Just be careful with the mics. All right, so let's get going. So it's going to be a great day, a great webinar. We have so many great people attending and presenting. So why don't we start with someone very special to all of us, and he's just going to be giving us a big warm hello and very quick. Let's see if we can open his mic, and hopefully we can bring him in. 1 2 1 2. Gino, are you there with us?
Say yes. Yeah, talk. Yes. Say hello. He's here. Hello, hello, hello.
Gino D'Ippolito, everybody. Gino D'Ippolito.
Yeah, that's me.
That, of course, that's you, Papagino. ¿Cómo estás? Ricardo.
This is how you doing. You okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah, I want to know if you're okay.
I'm too old.
You're never too old, Gino. You're never too old, Gino. I'm going to open up a couple of mics here. There's some people that would like to say hello to you. Obviously, everybody wants to say hello to you, but just let me open a couple of mics here.
It's Richard.
Okay, we're on the mic though. Be careful.
Let's see if we can start with Chip. Chip, you there? You want to say hello to Gino?
Richard, I'm here. I'm Richard, I'm here.
Chip Reed.
Dominic, you can hear me. Tell Gino I said hello.
That's Chip. Say hello to Chip. He's right here.
Hello, I love you all. I love you all. I love you all.
All right, Pop, I'm going to come see you. I'm going to stop by your house and wave to you through the window in the next couple of days, Pop. So,
Okay.
You
We'll
be
look
well.
for you, Chip. We'll look for you.
Let me open another mic. Let's see if we can get Dr. Joe here. Dr. Joe, we have Gino with us.
Gino, this is Joe Machnik. I'm speaking to you from South Carolina. How are you?
So much, Rick. Wow. I love you, Joe. I see you on TV a lot.
Gino,
You know the rules.
absolutely best soccer referee in the major indoor soccer league. And I had the great pleasure of hiring you as our first full-time official, and you did all the big games. You were fantastic for that league.
Is there because there's some rules problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll tell you that whenever I see a former player or a former coach, they don't ask me how I am. They say, "How is Gino?" Everybody knows Gino as the face of refereeing in the indoor league back in its glory days, 1978 through middle 80s.
Yes. I'll tell him. He can't hear, unfortunately. He can't hear a thing. Can't hear a thing.
All right.
I'll tell him.
All right, thank you, Dr. Joe. And let's see who else is up there. I want to say a little hello to Gino, the legend. Dominic, tell us real quick, how's Gino doing? How's everything going on there?
Gino's doing good. He's doing good. His hearing is completely gone. His vision is so-so. He can walk, he has a hard time getting around. And every time, I tell him, I says, "Dad, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine." He goes, 60, 70,000 games, and I can't walk now. What's wrong with me? You know, but he's hanging in there. He's good. He's still beating cancer. He's good. He's trying hard. He's trying hard.
Great. Gino's a legend. For all the new referees that don't know Gino, I'll tell you what, you better Google his name, Gino D'Ippolito, and you better learn about him because he's the legend. My mentor, he refereed my game back in 1985 as a youth. When I came to America in 1993, he became my mentor, and he treated me as a son. So I love you, Papa. We all do. I don't know what else to tell you, man. You're the greatest.
All right, Rich. Thank you so much. I will convey the message. It's going to be bedtime for him. I appreciate it, and we love all you guys. And please, I know he's going to want to send his regards to Esse. I know he's going to feel bad he missed Esse, but he saw Esse's face on the screen here, and he got a little excited. He goes, "Look, it's Esse. It's Esse." He goes, "Used to be my goal judge," he said, which I thought was pretty funny. Indoor soccer, which I thought was kind of funny. Meanwhile, Esse, you know, unbelievable, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You said it. Unbelievable. And we have a couple of videos from back in '86 with Esse and Gino. So we'll play those, and we'll send you a copy. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, please, thank you for the support. Do the best you can. Keep reffing. Keep the game going. We get out of this COVID-19. We get out of this, and it's going to be full blast 100%. Be strong. Be happy. And thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the love.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Gino D'Ippolito and his son, Dominic. We took a little bit of the presentation's time, but I think it was way worth it. So let me bring in my two good buddies here. Jose, you there?
Yes, hi Richard, how are you?
Good, good, good. Let me bring in Rubiel real quick.
Hey, Richard, I'm good here, buddy.
You good?
Yep.
All right, great. So we're gonna forget all this stuff. Let's go right into why I asked you to come in. So Rubiel is one of our newest FIFA referee, 2020, right? You joined the panel this year.
Yep.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
And FIFA Pro MLS referee, and Jose Silva, a Pro MLS assistant referee. In my opinion, he should be wearing a white patch as well. The reason why I asked you to come in for a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, is to actually try to start building a bridge between the old generation, Gino's time, my generation, and the newer generation, because all the new upcoming referees, they're looking after you guys. You're the ones on TV doing these games, right? The same as Chris. Chris is, I think I saw Chris. Chris is around. He's going to be doing a great presentation. See if I can bring him in as well, just say hello. Hi, Chris. Do we have you?
Yeah, Richard, how are you?
Good, 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 good. So Chris is going to be giving us a great presentation on angle view versus distance. It's a great topic since we have Esse with us, especially from that beautiful 1998 call between in that game, Norway and Brazil. So going back to you guys, I asked you to come in to tell us a little bit about your perspective, your side of the differences between the pro game, right? The USSF game, not necessarily an MLS. It could be an MLS, could be a USL game, right? Versus a college game, right? So why don't we start with the preparation, right? As a young referee, right? As a younger referee, what you may do things different than we do. Most likely you do. So I would like, let me start with Rubiel. Would you mind sharing with us, like the pre-game preparation, not so much the pre-game conference with your players, but like personal one, just to get into the zone. What is it you do? You listen to music. What type of music? Does the music, you listen to different music depending on the game, depending on the day, so on and so forth. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, of course. So thanks for having us, Richard. I know this was crazy times, so I hope everybody's staying sane and during these times, but hopefully we'll be back soon. Yeah, going back to that, I mean, preparation, I honestly take every game pretty much the same preparation. The difference is versus an MLS games and a college game might be the environment we're in, right? So in an MLS game, we're all together in the same hotel. I would say 90% of the times, right? Sometimes you have ARs that live local, but 90% of the times everybody flies in and we're in the same hotel. So the fact that you get together maybe for breakfast, for lunch, right? You're in the same environment for maybe 24 hours, for 48 hours. We might get dinner the night before. So that environment is pretty. It's another level, right? It's pretty interesting to be together all this time. So like you said, sometimes by the time we're in the stadium, we don't even have a pregame, right? We'll have a pregame at lunch or at breakfast. So it's definitely another level there. Going to music, I actually got a few songs from Penso's and a few songs from Let It Go. If you guys know the movie Frozen, Penso introduced me to a couple of those songs. So
That's the only way.
much,
The only way to get ready for a game.
So, but yeah, I mean, everybody, it honestly is the funniest thing. Everybody has a whole different set of playlists, right? You get from rock to Hispanic music to completely different. Jose da Silva is a little bit of a country guy, so he likes some country music. But overall, it's fun. And then for college, Richard, I would pretty much the same environment, right? The only difference is you're by yourself, right? So it's a little bit harder. The pregame comes into it more in the game. It's a little bit more of when you get there, but pretty much everything before that, I'll do the same thing. I'll make sure I'm familiar with the two teams, right? Who I'm doing, which is the same thing I do at the pro level, familiar with the two teams, the coaches, what have they done the past weeks, what are they doing, stuff like that. So that's pretty much in that sense of coming before a game. And then preparation mentally and all of that just comes from, like we said, reading the teams and know the teams and what they're doing before.
I
I'm sure
figured
the
you were.
Silva has a different one. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna be more like a reggaeton or cumbia guy, but I guess I was wrong.
There's a couple of those in there for sure.
So let's go to Jose real quick. Jose, obviously, at the pro level, you're an assistant referee, and that's what you'll be doing. That's your profession. It's a totally different path. Now, when you at the college level, do you blow a whistle every once in a while? What is the deal with you?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll have a whistle on a women's game or a D2 men's game down in South Florida. But it's sort of the same approach as Rubiel was saying. Approaching the game is very similar. I think the major difference is the mentality of it, the way you approach with the coaches and the players. And my biggest thing for a college game is the rules and the laws. The difference between the laws in MLS and the rules in college, the substitutions and the injuries in a college game, and that's the biggest point that I take from college, and I have to pay a lot of attention to just before each game, just so I don't mess up a rule.
So you just brought up an important aspect of college refereeing, and that is the rules. They're a little bit different. And the reason for that, as we all know, is because in college we're dealing with student athletes, so the game is a little bit different. It's not just a game. It's more like an extension of a classroom, right? So going back to that, Rubiel, I know you had a lot of whistles the prior years during the college season. Now, as within the FIFA panel, you may not be able to be able to do that many college games. I hope I'm wrong, because you're great at it. Bringing back to the rules now, when you on a pro mentality on a Wednesday game, and then on a college mentality on a Wednesday game, and then Sunday you on a pro mentality, how do you deal with that? And how do you get ready for the games?
Yeah, so Richard, that's great because obviously, as you know now, we cannot referee college during our regular season, right? We have to wait until we're done. But before, yeah, having to do both was probably the hardest thing, right? When you had, like you said, I had a college game on Wednesday and then let's say a USL game on Saturday, and the rules, right? Of putting the hands up or stopping or everything different. The worst fear is for us to, in a USL game after a goal, putting your hands up, right? To point for something or for a yellow card. So the transition, the transition there.
Like an MLS game, that would be kind of uncool.
That would not, yeah. So it was definitely, the transition is hard. I mean, it had to be mentally, for me, how I did it was, once the college game, I will focus for the college game on, let's say if it's a Wednesday, I will focus on Tuesday, Wednesday game. After the game on Wednesday, right? That's it. My mentality kind of changed. I will get prepared now for the next 3 days. Will be preparing myself for the USL game or MLS game. And my mentality was, everything now is focused on this game, right? Nothing that happened before is behind me. And for me, the keyest thing there was taking one game at a time. Even though it was a college game, I will put everything I had in my college game and then switch mentality and put everything I had on my pro game. I think that was the key there for me, and being able to have 3 days. I wouldn't do a college game within 3 days, minimum 3 or 4 days before a professional game, just to have a clear mentality of, okay, this game is done. I'm gonna start getting prepared for the next game. But that's definitely the hardest thing to do for sure.
No, definitely. And how about you, Jose? Since you're running around with a flag in your hand for pro games, and then you may have to run around with a flag in a college game, but now we're looking at a different environment, and yet you still need to advise the referee, right, when you see things, and some of those things are completely different. So how do you adjust to the two different levels, the two different venues? How do you do that?
No, and it's happened. I've been in a college game where there's been a contact to the face, where in MLS obviously that will be considered violent contact, red card. Then in a college game, it's a totally different environment. Then you gotta have two different hats, and you gotta, before the game, you gotta approach it and know it, and know so before it happens, so you don't have a reaction during the game. And that's just the preparation aspect of it. The way I see it, before the game, for me, it's more important than during the game. That's the way I see it, to differentiate between professional soccer and college soccer. And obviously having a discussion and knowing who you're working with, referee wise, and the division, the assigner of the conference, what they expect, what they support, or they don't. Obviously they don't support. All those little things you got to consider before each match. That's just my opinion.
Like, great. No, that's a great insight. We currently have over 200 referees online, and we have a mix of referees, college referees and youth referees, and some youth high school referees, and that mixed where the rules are different, and it's great for them to hear you guys heading in that, those key points where you need to unplug yourself from yesterday's game and just focus entirely into today's game, no matter what it is. And I guess that's one of the key aspects of becoming a good referee for that specific game. And tomorrow you switch the rule book and you focus on whatever you have in front of you. So that's pretty useful there. Now, just a question of your final question, then I'm gonna let you go. I know you're on your way to another online session. So two things. One, you guys gonna come back and give me a real presentation, and you're gonna bring the whole gang?
Definitely, for sure. We'll get everybody together.
Absolutely.
Great. And now, I don't want to know the songs because that would be too intimate. But can you give me the two of you, each one of you, a big difference that you feel is a big difference between the two different games, and what do you do to overcome that obstacle? We all have something that is a pain in the butt, and we need to overcome that obstacle. Rubiel, what's that in your game and how you deal with it?
Between you saying any game or?
Well, it could be between a college and a pro game or any game. We all have little bumps there that we need to work extra hard to overcome.
For sure. So I'm gonna go with just period any game, and it's gonna be when you make a decision that you're not sure if it's right or wrong, right? Or maybe you're thinking more, damn, I just called the penalty and I'm not sure if it is or not, right? You're doubting yourself. So I think the biggest key is how do you change to continue the rest of the game without that being in your head, right? Thinking that, oh man, I might have messed up the penalty kick. That is the worst thing you can do. So my biggest advice is no matter what call you make, right? Stick to that decision, make it that in your heart that you're right and move on to the next one, right? That decision already happened and move on to the next one. I think that's one of the hardest things for us to do is when we're doubting a call, and that keeps us all through the whole game, and it's just gonna get worse and worse, guys. So once you make a call, live with it, move on, all right? No matter what you think, just live with it. It's your call. That was your gut. Move with it and go on to the next one, yeah?
Jose?
For me, it will be the flashlight decision. So the one play during the match in where the defender leaves his 1 feet behind or the shoot and keeps the player on side. In a college game, I try to work on those flashlight decisions.
Great. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for doing what you do out there. Thank you for representing. And we'll be in touch. I really want to have all of you guys do a little something for all the referees here.
Definitely. Richard, thanks for having us. And everybody have a great night. Thank you so much. You have great presenters coming up. So all the best.
Yeah, take advantage of it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Love you guys. All right. Let's move on. Real quick, let's go over next week's. Next week's we'll have Paul Tamburino stopping by for a few minutes to talk about the college game, ECSR and NYSOA relationship and the games and so on and so forth. For those of you who don't know who Paul Tamburino is, I just say one thing. He was 4 times MLS Referee of the Year. Google his name and become familiar with Tambo. We're also going to have Dr. Donald Wilberg is going to be talking about mental traps. Mental traps. He's going to join us with a beautiful presentation. That's also next Friday. And then we'll have at least one of the referees, the referee crew from the 2018 UEFA Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool. So at least we have Dalabar signed up, and we're trying to get the rest of the crew to give us an insight on mental preparation and readiness, how they got ready for that big match, and how they get ready for every other match. And then we're trying to do a compare with our college games and our different type of games that we do, so we can use some of that great information. So that will be next week. Just a quick reminder, May happens to be Huntington's Disease Awareness Month. So make sure you go to OSI and buy those HD wristbands. All right. We need to wear those not just in May. We need to wear them 12 months out of the year. They're good anyways. They're really good. And you'll be donating a portion of the profits will go to the Huntington Disease Association organization. So just a quick reminder for the next presenter. If you have any questions, email that question to us at rwisoa@gmail.com, or go use the question section within the chat, within the webinar. You can post your question there. Then we'll let you know if you're selected, and we'll give you a mic. And that's how we're going to be dealing with the questions and answers. We currently have over 300 referees, so we can't have everybody with an open mic, or we'll be in trouble. So without any further interruptions, let me go into today's NYSOA representative. Jim Miller is with us. Let's see if we can find Jim here. I believe his mic is open, but let's make sure.
Hello, Richard.
Are you there, Jim?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So we have Jim with us. He's NYSO Executive Council member. He's happened to be the regional representatives chairman, right? And you're
Yes.
also Region 2, the New York region representative. And
Yes.
you're also the Triple Cities New York ISOA chapter president for 38 years, correct?
Long time.
So you're the longest sitting chapter president in ISOA. Did you know that?
Lance was trying to push that earlier today. I don't know if that's true.
Well, he knows better than me. if I'm wrong, I'm gonna blame it on him. And he also says something else. He says that you're a great softball player. Is that right?
High school baseball coach and a senior softball player in my old age. Yes.
Oh yeah, because someone says that you are a great over 65 softball player, and you play for the All World Masters tournament.
Yes. Team I play with out of Syracuse, 70-year-old Syracuse Cyclones went to Vegas last September and won a national title. So we're still riding high.
There you have it, and we have a picture of that newspaper article up in our.
I wonder where they found that.
Who knows?
Only time I ever made an all tournament team, and it's probably the biggest stage I was ever on. So again, I'm still riding high.
Hey, congratulations. So the floor is all yours, Jim.
Okay, Richard, good evening to you and to your highly motivated soccer referee webinar listeners. On behalf of the NISOA Executive Board, I want to thank you and your local chapter for organizing these educational training webinars. Also for giving NISOA an opportunity each week to provide information to our members. I've been a member, as you mentioned, of NISOA since 1975, currently on the executive board as the chairperson of the 11 regional representatives. Concurrently, I'm the Region 2 representative, and for the past 38 years, president of my local chapter, Triple Cities ISOA. That's located out of Binghamton and is in basically the southern tier here in New York State. Recently, the executive board changed the frequency of our WebEx meetings from monthly to semi-monthly, as the COVID-19 pandemic has had a great impact on both our society and potentially on our 2020 college soccer season. We have been formulating plans for the three options the NCAA is considering: a normal season, a reduced season starting later and containing only league games, or no season at all. In any event, we must prepare our members for the game we love. We have already decided and announced that we will not be conducting any in-person clinics. It is our understanding that our partners, the NCAA and ECSR, have the same mindset. We've been developing distance learning presentations to prepare our 5,000 referees for the 2020 season. We've been operating a weekly NISOA Educational Stimulus Initiative quiz from Sunday through Wednesday evenings, then offering an analysis on Friday afternoon with special guests announcing the cash prize winners and the Wall of Fame members based on their performance. Currently, we have between 600 and 700 members taking this quiz each week. Members with a perfect score of 100% are entered into a raffle to win cash prizes. So far, we've given away $7,500 in this stimulus program. I would add, Tori, in the presentation this afternoon, mentioned that one of the winners last week returned their prize money because they are not negatively affected by this COVID-19 situation. And that allowed us this week to add an 11th winner to the 10 we would normally grant cash prizes to. Earlier today, the 6th week was reviewed, and if you missed it, check out your YouTube channel for the recorded video. There are 2 weeks remaining. Look for the email with a link to the quiz in your inbox. Next week's topic is spa and dog show. On Thursday, April 30th, we produced a live Zoom webinar entitled Coach-Referee Relationships, co-hosted by Joe Machnik and Ralph Polson, and a diverse panel of women's and men's college coaches. More than 300 referees tuned in. We know a number of temporarily idle pro referees who also work NCAA games. Tori Penso organized this group to make a number of presentations for us. They are to be released soon. Richard and his Rockland Westchester ISOA have stepped up and produced these Friday night webinars. NYSOA's Director of Instruction, Todd Abraham, was on this program a number of weeks ago, adding his expertise. And NYSOA President Gary Huber was on last week, as was Corey Rockwell, with an extensive presentation that I thoroughly enjoyed. The quality of information in these webinars has been outstanding. The Executive Board meets again next Monday, at which time we expect to finalize a number of important issues. Adjusted guidelines for the physical performance test, local chapter meeting requirements, an update on the timing and method of the release of the new NCAA rule books, interpretations, and the resulting changes in our mechanics. Distance learning videos for these changes are near completion. The changes we are anticipating are trying to take a common sense approach to the COVID-19 situation, which varies throughout the country. So stay tuned. And losing my place briefly. As you may have heard from Gary last week, we're working to finalize the summer clinic schedule, which will be offered online. Stay tuned for more details to come shortly about those events. 2 job openings that Tori mentioned this afternoon and are available at our website. One is for our website manager, as past President John Pugliese is giving up that role this summer. So there is on our website a job description that you will find under the jobs tab. In addition, we're advertising for a communications manager, and that information is also located at the same location on our website. In closing, I encourage all NISOA members to forward their concerns to their regional representative. Before each executive board meeting, I reach out to these 10 individuals, as well as the local chapter leadership in Region 2, for their issues, so that I can bring these concerns to our meetings. Thank you again, Richard, for giving me the opportunity to address our membership. May everyone stay safe. May this pandemic end quickly, and may we all have a highly successful 2020 collegiate soccer season.
Thank you, Jim. And Jim's information can be found on our website, the NISOA website, nisoa.com, under About Us. And thank you, Jim. If we don't have any questions for Jim, anybody has a question? No questions? All right, great. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you everyone who's attending tonight.
No, thank you, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, that was Jim Miller, our Region 2 representative and executive council member of NISOA. Just a quick reminder, May, Huntington Disease Awareness Month. All right, go to Official Sports and get your wristband. Tomorrow, when we replay the webinar on our Facebook page, we're going to be giving away some of those. Tomorrow, it's going to be at 1 p.m. All right, Facebook page. And we also do it on YouTube, so you can get it on either one. Just a quick reminder, next week, we have Paul Tamburino, 4 times MLS Referee of the Year. We have Dalibor I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name because I always get it wrong. I don't want to get him upset. He's one of the crew members of the 2018 UEFA Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool. We'll be discussing mental preparation and readiness. And Dr. Donald Wilbur will be with us as well, giving us a presentation on mental traps. So it's going to be another great weekend, great day, great night for webinars. And that will be Friday, May 22nd. For questions for the next presenter, the next speaker, send it to us via email at rwisoa@gmail.com. That is rwisoa@gmail.com. Or you can use the question section within the webinar. You can post your question and we'll bring you right in. So without any further interruptions, let me bring you Esse Baharmast. Let's see if I can. I know I have you here. Hi, Esse, you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Let me bring Chris as well, so the three of us can talk a little bit about your wonderful career, and since you're the reason why we're doing that presentation on angle of view versus distance, I want to have Chris on the call as well. Chris, do we have you?
I am here.
There he is. That's Chris Penso, ladies and gentlemen. So, Esse, we had a little surprise for you, but that surprise had to go to bed around 6:45. I tried to push him to go to bed a little bit later, but he couldn't. So he stopped by at 6:30, and he wanted to tell you that he loves you very much. He misses you, and he really wanted to say hello in person, but right now he's sleeping.
And
Guess
I
who
can
that
tell
was?
it has to be the one and only Papa Gino.
The one and only Papa Gino. So since he had to go to sleep, I had to bring the doctor into the house, and not only one doctor, but I brought two doctors to say hello to you because they wanted to say hello to you as well. So let me start with Dr. Joe.
Okay.
Dr. Joe,
Yeah, hey, how are you?
doing great. Looking forward to seeing you soon in Colorado as soon as we get this craziness over and done with.
So I have to tell you that, we've had a long association together with refereeing and going back to the early days of indoor soccer when, as Gino D'Ippolito said, he remembers you as his goal judge. So that's where it all began. But Esse, it was really one of the highlights of my life when you selected me and asked me to be your presenter, when you received the One Africa Award presented by U.S. Soccer most recently, and that's U.S. Soccer's highest award. So I just want everybody who's on this call to realize that you have won this award, and it is so worthy, and that you did, and what a great career that you have had. And I stayed on after speaking with Gino because I wanted to say hello to you, but I'm looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
And Dr. Joe, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. You just knocked it out of the ballpark. Your presentation was absolutely incredible and one of the highlights of my officiating, refereeing, soccer career. And my wife and my daughter were there, and they were just blown out of the water by your comments and the way you conducted that. It was fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. And let's bring the other doctor in the house, Dr. Donald Wilbur.
Hello, Don Wilbur. How are you, sir?
Don, you there? Okay, while we try to get Don in, let's see if we can pick up another one. Somebody else wants to say hello to you. See if we can bring him in real quick, and then we go right into your presentation. Chip, you there?
I am Richard. I am. Essie, hello. How are you?
Hello, brother Chip. How are you, my friend?
Well, we spoke yesterday, but I'm just going to reiterate what Dr. Joe said. We go way back. It was a 1991 U.S. Olympic Festival in LA. Remember that?
Yep, absolutely.
That tournament.
That's
And
God bless his soul.
yes, and I was on your line for the 1998 MLS All-Star Game in Orlando, thanks to Joe Mack for all those assignments. And anyway, the great
And
career you had, Essie.
and not only that, Chip, you were on my farewell game, my very last match that I refereed, the MLS All-Stars against the US versus the rest of the world. And you were there with me as well on my very last match.
Yeah, yeah. You, me, Brian, and Greg Barkey. Yeah, I'll take that game to my grave. Yeah. I'll just say one more thing. If there's going to be a speaker to give a soccer talk, there's nobody that can paint a better picture and create the emotions than you can. So I'm looking forward to your speech, Essie, as I always do. And good to hear from you.
Thank you, Chip. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have Dino Wilbert? Do we have you done? We'll try to bring him in later. Let's go right into why we're here. We're here because you are a legend. You're an American legend. And as referees, especially when you're at the highest level and all your games are being watched under a microscope, every decision determines if you're coming back tomorrow. And it's not just you as a referee, but also your whole federation, right? When you make a decision, especially at a World Cup venue, that decision is not going to just send you home if it's the wrong decision. It may send you home, but it also may affect future generations of referee. And I'm one of those that believe that great decision you made on that 98 World Cup opened up the doors for the rest of U.S. referees to make it all the way up to the World Cup. I'm a true believer of that. So personally, I really like to take my hat off and say, congratulations for having the courage to make that decision. And it wasn't just that one. That's the one that became popular. There have been many decisions prior to that that actually allow you to build your career on. So why don't we go back to, since we had Gino in, we're gonna go back to, I'm not gonna play this. I'm gonna go back to this. Do you remember this, Essie?
Of course, this was the indoor days when there was really no outdoor games being played in this country. The outdoor games were the amateur games, the normal Sunday afternoon games, the youth matches, but really nothing at the professional level. This was after NASL had folded. And, we had to keep refereeing in any shape or form we could. And the indoor game gave me everything that I needed at the time, dealing with some of the most difficult players, because if you looked, a lot of players who played outdoor in the NASL also came over to the indoor game and they played in the indoor. For example, at any given time, I could see Johan Niskens from Holland, Kazimir Dana from Poland, Bernd Halzenbein from Germany, Gordon Hill from England. These are World Cup players who were at these matches. And Kai Haskivi, you can see it right now from Finland. So these were really international stars who were playing in the indoor game. And the indoor game was, you had to make so many decisions in such a short amount of time. And for example, outdoor, all you had to do was decide it's an advantage or not an advantage. In the indoor game, not only I had to decide if it's an advantage or not, whether it's time penalty or not, if it's a 2-minute time penalty or more. And then what happens during that time penalty if another one came about? Then now you had to take it to the penalty box and try to figure it out, and which one cancels which one, and who's got to sit in the penalty box, and if there are multiple players in the penalty box, who comes out first, who comes out second. So it was really so I don't want to say complicated, but it was involved. And when I came from the indoor game and having dealt with all these different players from Croatia, from Brazil, from Serbia, Polish players, and we had to keep all these players under control in such a confined area. And when I came back to the outdoor game, finally, for me, it was like almost in slow motion. I could referee the game in slow motion because I had been used to the quick pace of the indoor, and that made it so much easier. And then you showed the Gino D'Ippolito. I mean, what a mentor, what fantastic teachers I had. So not only we would do the game, and then after the game, at the time, all of us were roommates. So, we would go to a game, do a match, and end up in the same room. So after the game, we are talking till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, dissecting the game, talking about the game. And I learned from Gino. Gino was the protector of the referees. Gino always took the bench side because he wanted to take the pressure. And I knew I had arrived when Gino told me, Pops, you can go take the bench side today. And that was his way of telling me, you know what, you have arrived. You got what it takes now to be able to be on the bench side. Whereas before, Gino would be on the bench side for 4 periods. Every single period, Gino would be on the bench side trying to protect us from the coaches, from the other players who were there, who would be in your ear the entire time. And Joe Machnik, Joe was the director of referees. My very first game in the indoor game was with Joe Mack. And Herb Silva and Billy Maxwell, and I can go on and on and on. These wonderful, wonderful teachers and these wonderful mentors who talked to me about the game. And it wasn't just refereeing, we talked about the game. And that's one of the things that I always loved. For me, it was always about the game. It wasn't so much about, where are we going to go or what hotel we're staying at. If I tell you some of the places that we stayed at, for example, when it was in the American Indoor Soccer, AISA, the Purple Night Inn in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I mean, I can tell you stories. And it was, we did it because we loved the game. At the end of the day, it wasn't because of the money. It wasn't because of the fame. None of that. We enjoyed, we loved the game. And to have those teachers, to have those mentors is absolutely incredible.
So let's go back a little bit. The reason why I'm showing this indoor clip, some people may think, what the heck does this have to do with college or anything else? Well, the truth is, and you hit it right in the right place. Due to the proximity of the blade, which is right on top of you, right? You develop such a you kind of polish, you master foul recognition and game management. Since everybody's on top of you, you know once you blow the whistle, you need to deal with the conflict. You're going to have to deal with that behavior. And then the other aspect that I like to touch on is the fact that you have players from all over the world, which is very similar to today's college environment. So what can you tell us a little bit on that? How did you started to deal with that and that game management? Obviously, you didn't have it at the beginning, and little by little you were building it up, right? So what can you give us some tips, and what is it that you look for? What did you do different? Share some tips.
So one of the things that really helped me, I played at the pretty good level. I played for University of Missouri, and I played on a amateur team that won the state championship in state of Missouri. We represented our region in Region 2. And this is when St. Louis was really a soccer mecca in US. I mean, they had big time teams there, and we beat the teams from St. Louis. and went to win the state of Missouri, the amateur cup. And on top of that, I took my coaching license. I have a National B coaching license. Not Detmar Kramer, sorry. Karl-Heinz Hedergott was the director of coaching when I took my coaching license there. And my teammates, my fellow coaches that I worked with, Glenn Meyernick, Mooch Meyernick, who later on became the coach of Colorado Rapids, and he was with the U.S. national team. So coming from a background where you have played the game and you have coached the game and you have a good understanding, I could really relate to the players and the coaches, their frustrations, the way they were feeling, the way they were, being put under pressure and things of that nature. So I always had a good relationship with the players and the coaches, and we knew where the line was. I knew how much to give them and how much, and when to stand my ground. I did not have a rabbit ear. If a player said something, I said something back, and we talked. And I was a talking referee. I talked to the players as much as I could. The coaches right now are some of my best friends, and I understand the difficulties that they have. I have empathy for what they go through. I know how difficult their job is. I know how difficult the players' jobs are. And for that reason, I always felt an affinity, a friendship, a liking to the players and the coaches. So for that reason, we had a good relationship. And being in this type of environment where fans are right on top of you as you're running around, I mean, they're sitting right there. They're like, 2 feet away, 3 feet away from you. This created a wonderful pressure cooker that you had to stay calm and cool. Your body language had to be calm and cool. You could not lose your control of your emotions. So even when I'm standing on the goal kick, and either with Tino Lettieri, and Tino could be a difficult player. Tino was one that had different antics. He had this parrot that he would bring into his goal and put it there. And then he would get this parrot, this stuffed parrot, and taunt the players, taunt the fans. If they scored a goal, if his team scored a goal, he would be taunting the other team. And I had to be talking to him and say, look, Tino, we like color. We like you to be colorful. We like you to be, but know where the lines are and the limits are. And we were able to have a conversation and be able to control him. So this gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to talk to the players, be able to talk to the coaches. And when it was time to give a penalty, I gave a penalty. When it was time to give a card, it was time to give a card. It wasn't me that I gave it. It was the player who earned it. I just showed it. So it wasn't my call. All they had to do was the next day was go on the video and take a look at the video, and there it was. And I told the player, and the players knew it. And it was like, I didn't do it. You did it. I just called it. And that made my job easier, knowing that I know the game pretty well. I relate to the players and I appreciate them. I relate to the coaches and I appreciate them. And I'm here to do a job with the best of my ability. And I'm going to make mistakes. I'm human. I was not born perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but they'll be honest mistakes. And the players knew that, and the coaches knew that. So even when I had a mistake, they would say, it's okay, SC, move on. And we would move on and go to the next call.
So pretty much you went there, you actually went to work. You actually went there to not just make decisions, you were there to manage a group of players and trying to understand their emotions and trying to deal with those emotions and put it within the game context, since you had the player's background and later a coaching background, which is always great. Now, just let me go back to this clip, because this clip right here, I don't know if you can see, you're surrounded by a whole bunch of yellow guys here, right?
Yep. That's
number 10,
yep.
Yes. So people understand back then, referees actually had numbers. You were number 10 and Papa Gino was number 5, correct?
Yep. And actually, my number 10 was my playing number. So when I played, I was a center forward striker, and my number was number 10. So when I came to MISL, and they were looking to hand out the numbers, that was the number that I asked for, and I said this was my plane number, and if I can have that, that would be great. And I did get that number. And originally we had our names on the back of the referee uniform, so it would have the last name. But then after a while, they decided to go with the number system, and number 10 was mine. Yep.
That was cool. Let's go back to this situation real quick, because this has a lot to do with, believe it or not, college behavior as well. But the difference here is that they're actually they're questioning you something that happened.
Right.
I'm not going to say it unless you want to say it on your own. Something happened there, so they question you something, right?
Yep.
But I don't see unsporting behavior. I don't see their coaches there. I don't see responsible behavior. What I see is people asking, respectfully asking questions. But at the same time, I do know this league, especially back then, this wasn't the case with every referee. So has a lot to do probably with the way you were managing the game, and maybe the way you were approaching the game. You want to share some of that with the group?
Yeah, sure. So what happened here? I missed the tripping, and a player from Cleveland Force got tripped, and I did not have the best angle, and I didn't see it. And luckily, no goal came of it. Nobody scored on it. The ball went to the goalkeeper, and now the ball went out of bounds. And when the ball went out of bounds, the players were talking to me and said, "How did you miss that? How could you miss that?" And then I have a conversation. Number 12 is Kai Hoskeby, and the other one I think is Peter Ward. And both players were asking, "Esse, you're better than this. How could you miss that?" And I said, "Hey, look, I did not have the angle. I didn't see it. I missed it. Let's move on. I'm done. Okay. You told me. I agree. I had a feeling that I missed it, but I didn't see it. So we're done. We're gonna move on and continue." And we move on, and that's it. That's the end of the story. Exactly like before, when they were talking about when you give a penalty, and maybe later on you're having a little bit of doubt, and maybe a little bit of second guessing yourself. You know what? Move on. Move on. You're no different than a forward who misses an open net. A forward can miss an open net, and if they continue to decide to think about that missed opportunity, they're not going to get the next one or the next one or the next one. We have a center forward who's going to miss an open net shot and put it over the top. Okay. Everybody will tell him. His own players will tell him. His coach will tell him, "Forget about it. Move on. We get the next one." And that's how they're going to move on. And we need to do the same thing. We need to learn from the mistake. We need to learn why we missed it and not repeat it again, but not to dwell on it, especially during the game, and constantly have that as a distraction to prevent you from making the next call and the next call and the next call, which you're supposed to be out there to make.
It's funny that you mentioned angles quite a few times since it's today's topic, but at the same time, you're without using the word preventive, you're actually talking about preventive officiating, and that's happened to be somewhat today's way of refereeing, right? At the highest level, it wasn't like that in the past, but now it's getting more into that preventive. In other words, try to deal with the situation before it becomes a problem. Right?
Absolutely. You have to be preventive officiating. You cannot wait for something to happen and then not decide to put a band-aid on it. If you see that two players are going toward each other, get in there between and say, stop it before it's happening. If you're doing an outdoor game and it's a 2-0 game and the team that is behind scores a goal and now it becomes 1-2, you should be the first one in the goal trying to make sure that you get the ball and get out before that the attacker is trying to go into the goal and pick up the ball, and now the goalkeeper is going to hold on to the ball, and now they're going to get into a fisticuff, and you got to come and start to, dishing out a yellow card here and a yellow card there. If you know and you understand that immediately this player, the team that was down by 2 goals, they just scored a goal, they want to go in there and get that ball and bring it back and immediately get the game restarted. And the team that is up is probably want to hold on to that ball and waste some time. So if you see that, if you're preventive, if you know this, if you're prepared, you'll be the first one who's out there who's going to prevent it from those guys, from the attacker coming in and say, yeah, I got it. Okay, we got the time. I've got the ball. Relax. And you prevent craziness from happening.
And you're absolutely right. Of course you are. One thing that you didn't mention is that you're also a FIFA instructor.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes.
And obviously you get to your current position due to making the right decision throughout your career. So we started on the indoor there. Obviously, you did your fair share of amateur games and so on and so forth. But that kind of helped you, right, paint the road for the one that I'm about to show here. I don't know if you can see the clip. Do you remember this?
Yes, this would be the semi-final of the Olympics in Atlanta. This is Argentina and Portugal, two very difficult teams, not an easy game. And the winner is going to go for the gold medal and the loser for the third place match. So as most people know, the semi-finals of any tournaments are more difficult than the final, actually. And this was a game that they had a lot of risk, and to give this to a referee from US, who at the time, we had just started the professional league, the MLS, while FIFA had thought that, this was, not a high risk game, because right before this game, I had done Brazil and Nigeria, another two difficult teams. And that game was done with complete control. The only goal of the game came from an advantage I give to Ronaldo, who scored the goal. And this match was given to me, and I had done my homework before the game. I knew who was sitting on a yellow card. I knew that from Argentina, Ariel Ortega, number 10, had a yellow card. So if he would have received the yellow card in this game, he would have missed the final. From Portugal, numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 13, all were sitting on yellow cards. So I knew every player who had a yellow card. So not to give a willy-nilly, a silly yellow card for nothing. And if a team ends up in the final, that they had to sit out. That's not to say that I wasn't gonna, back away from a yellow card that I should have given, but just to be preventive and to be ready for the match. And this game finished with zero problem, no problem, a great game. Argentina won this game and went to play for the gold medal match.
That's great. You just hit a lot of key aspects of refereeing there. Number one is your preparation for the game. Get to know your players, get to know the venue, get to know who you're working with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let me touch on one thing real quick. Your officials here, your crew, back then it was not like today, where pretty much your ARs are your ARs. As a referee, you work with your crew throughout your FIFA career. Mostly, that's mostly the case. I know with some small confederations that's not the case. They have to share ARs, but generally, big conferences, big federations, they have crews, right? ARs with referees. With this group, where were they from, and what kind of preparation you had for this game?
So my fourth official, who's walking out, is from Saudi Arabia, Omar Al Mohanna, and the other two was one from Dante from Mali, and the other one Zuniga from Costa Rica. So they actually spoke different languages, so English was not even the common language. I had to take him in the day before. I would sit down with a clipboard and talk to them, show them by drawing, the figures and what I wanted from them. And basically, I figured, this is first time I'm working with any of these gentlemen, first time. And this is the semi-final of the Olympics, and I'm flying solo. So I have to run more. I have to also be in position to cover offside. I have to be in position to be able to put an offside flag down if I needed to. I cannot put my 100% trust in somebody that I'm working in for the first time. So my reaction was at all times that, okay, I do have teammates, but I'm going to treat it as if I'm flying solo. as if I'm flying with no co-pilot, as I'm flying with no autopilot, and I have to make sure that everything that I can control, I can control. So if that means that I have to run more and I have to get into position to be able to cover offside, then that's what I have to do, and that's what I did.
So it's very similar to what we do at the college environment, where you rarely work with the same ARs unless you're refereeing like the JUCO level, Division 3 level. The majority of the games you're working with outside your area AR. So it's important to listen to what Esse is saying here. Sometimes you do need to take it upon yourself to referee solo. But being that said, you still have a crew, and you still need to respect and build some sort of communication going back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Esse.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to build a team as quickly as I could. So I would have lunch with them. I would have breakfast with them. I would ask them to please come with me, sit down. I actually took them on a soccer field, and we went out, and I put the ball, and I said, if there, if there's a free kick here, this is where I want you. So everything that we had to go through, I rehearsed the day before with them. But again, at the same time, being the semifinal of the Olympics, I was not going to put 100% of my trust. And if that meant that I had to run more, I had to be in position to maybe see offside as good as they do. That's what I decided to do to make sure that everything went well.
That's great. And no radios. Let's remember that there were no radios back then.
Yes.
So it was all body language refereeing and personality and being human, right?
Yep. And for me, that one of the most important thing is that we did not rely on technology. We did not. We relied on the basics and the fundamentals of the game to be in position, to get in position, to open wide, to be able to see our AR. So immediately we had eye contact. So as soon as the flag went up, I could pick up the flag, because I did not have the benefit of a communication system that I would turn my back and they would talk to me. But also that helps, because when you know how to do calculations in your head, like multiplication table, when we learned it, if we learned from 1 to 100 multiplication in the head. So you said 7 times 7 was 49. Now you ask one of the new students, okay, what is 7 times 7? And they'll say, Siri, what is 7 times 7? Or Alexa, what is 7 times 7? And they have difficulty. And that is something that we learned, that the basics and the fundamentals, we had to know it inside out. And that would help in situations like this. And once you had the communication, once you had the beep flag, that was the icing on the cake. But that's not something that we had to rely on.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when we were growing up and we had to go somewhere and we had to open up a map and learn how to read a map, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will actually teach us of the surrounding areas. We got to know places because we're actually paying attention to streets and corners and signs, et cetera, et cetera. Refereeing is pretty much the same. The way we learned was more like into developing a relationship with your crew and using all the proper signals to be able to survive. Put it that way. Nowadays, it's just a little bit easier. I wish we can go back to the old way at the beginning, so they can develop those skills. I don't know what you think about that, but
yeah, for me, I think it's fantastic when we work with the beginners, that they do not use any sort of communication system, that they get to learn the basics, the fundamentals, and then later on, if they get the communication system, okay, that's icing on the cake. Or the beeper flag. The referee should in the middle should get used to opening a wide diagonal to be able to see his or her AR at all times, to have that visual cue to be able to see them. And immediately when the flag goes up, they got it, they picked it up. and they don't have to wait for a second stimulus, whether it be a communication system or a beeper flag or anything of the sort, to tell them, oh, look, you know, your AR just put the flag up. And once they pick that up, again, all the other stuff is luxury. It's like when you're trying to fly, you should learn how to fly without the help of the autopilot, without the help of, you know, all the other gadgets that makes it so much easier. You have to be able to fly this plane.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. It should be a compliment. You know, communication system, beeper flag should be a compliment. Should be something to make your job easier, but you should learn the basics. Because how many times radios go off and then we'll see this crew, which I've seen it all the time, especially at the college level, where they rely so much on communication. In the middle of the game, a radio goes off, and now you see disaster.
Right.
So it's all about building that relationship with your team, and you said it well. At the pro level, at the indoor level, at the college level, high school, youth, all those referees should be paying attention to what we're seeing here because it's extremely important. So the 96, going back to the 96 Olympics, that opened the doors for you, right? And that allowed you that great performance you had, because it was a great performance. I actually watched the whole game. It was very good. You were assigned to a pain in the butt game after that, Japan, Korea, correct?
Yep. And actually, Japan, Korea, for me, it was an honor to do this match because Japan, Korea is more than a soccer game. Japan, Korea is a political game because of all the problems that they had during the war. And, you know, there is no love lost between Japan and Korea. So this was more than just a qualification for the World Cup. This had a game with history, with derby, with political connotations and things of that nature. And when we went there, I told my team that, you know, they have trusted this game to us, and we have to really show for Asia and FIFA that the American referees have arrived. We can do this match and not a problem, and we're going to control this game without a problem. As we walked into the Olympic Stadium in Seoul, Olympic Stadium in Seoul has a running track around it, right? And this running track puts, even though it was 100,000 fans in the stadium full, 3/4 in red for Korea and 1/4 in blue for Japan. This track around it really made it so easy for me, because remember the indoor game I was talking about where people were right on top of me? That's the atmosphere that I love. I mean, that's the atmosphere that really gets my juices going. So when I go to a stadium like the Azteca Stadium, that's the type of stadium I love, where the people are right on top of you and the fans are right on top of you. And that's the type of thing that gets me really juiced up. So when I go to this game, it's like, oh, piece of cake. The fans and everybody else are, you know, 50 meters away from where we are. So it was just like a refereeing you know, normal game, right? Like a friendly match, even though it wasn't a friendly match. You know, even though it had a lot of connotations and, you know, pressure on the line. But for me, there was really no pressure. We went in there, did the job, great game. This was a must-win match for Japan in Korea in order to be able to qualify for the '98 World Cup in France. And they won. And the next day, when we were coming back to US, at the airport, the Japanese fans who were going home, as they would see us, they would all bow. And the Koreans also, you know, they were not happy that their team lost, but it had nothing to do with the officiating. So they were also very, very friendly, you know, great job. Everybody had watched the game. And one of the great memories, you know, that we came back from Asia doing a very important match and with no problems.
That's great. So that 97 game set the path for the World Cup. And that brings us to the famous, well, you had a great game prior to that one. And you want to talk about that one and then go right into that Norway game?
Yep. So I've had fantastic mentors, and Mr. Fernando Alvarez, God bless his soul. He was the guardian angel of our referees, and he was the one who was pushing for us to always get the games. And he was saying, you know, the American referees can do these games. And when I ended up doing the first match in the World Cup, it was Spain and Nigeria. Spain-Nigeria was supposed to be a very difficult game. They're in Group D, and they said Group D for Group of Death, because this was a very difficult group. And the president of Nigeria had just passed away that same day. Mr. Alvarez called me before the game and said, you know, the president of Nigeria has passed away. Nigerian team is dedicating this game to the nation. And of course, Spain being the favorite. And it was a fantastic game, back and forth. Spain went up 1-0. Nigeria came back, made it 1-1. Spain went up 2-1. Nigeria came back, made it 2-2. And then Nigeria won 3-2. And 85th minute, and a rocket, a shot by Sunday Olise from outside the penalty area. And then they gave me this match, which is the last game of the group between Brazil and Norway. And for about 77 minutes in this match, nothing was going on. In the 77th minute, Denilson from Brazil was top of the penalty area, gets tripped. I gave him that advantage. He made a cross, and Bebeto scored with a header, and they go up 1-0. Norway comes back, scores 1-1, and this is 87th minute of the match. And I'm standing top of the penalty area. The cross is coming in, and I see Junior Baiano, number 4, grabs Toro Andre Flo from the back of the jersey, pulls him back, and I hesitate for half a second to see maybe an advantage. Maybe the ball will go to another Norwegian player. No such thing. So, and I call the penalty. I call the penalty. I show it 3 times. The holding signal that he held them by the back of the jersey. I give the penalty. We score. Norway scores on the penalty, wins the match 2-1 in the dying minutes. And the thing that really made this crazy was at the same time that this game was being played simultaneously, Morocco and Scotland were playing the other game of the group, and Morocco had beaten Scotland 3-0. So they were celebrating because they thought they were going to the World Cup. Had this game finished in a tie, Morocco had gone through, but this penalty eliminated Morocco. And later on, if you see, they have cameras where the Moroccan players are celebrating and hugging each other. And the next moment, somebody's telling him, no, Brazil just lost on a penalty. And the penalty doesn't look to be like a good penalty either. It looks like a small bump. And now the Moroccan players are in tears, and the television is playing split screen. They're constantly showing this view of the angle. It looks like really not much of a penalty. Looks like just a small bump. And Moroccans in tear, and the coach of Morocco was Henri Michel, who was a Frenchman, who was a coach of the France national team before. And he was giving interviews to television and cameras and reporters, and saying basically that they got robbed, and this was a imaginary penalty, and the referee was corrupt or bought or whatever the case may be. Everything that they wanted to say, they said about this penalty, that it's not a penalty.
So basically, they were in their mind was like, okay, they got this American baseball referee, umpire, calling this game. He should have never been here, so on and so forth. So before we go into what the what is it you actually saw, let's rewind a little bit and let's put it into a college or an amateur game or youth game context. Since we don't have the majority of college games don't have 6, 7, 8, 10 cameras. They have one if you're lucky, and they're only a very number of games. They actually have multiple cams. That will be some Division 1s and some Division 2s, but the majority of the games they actually don't have more than just one little recording phone or whatever. So can you give some of these referees some tips on how to deal with when you see something and you need to make that decision, especially a tough decision like this one. And you don't have a backup. You didn't have it back then in the stadium. So can you imagine the regular guys doing college games? Is there any tips that you can give them on how to deal with that behavior, how to deal with that confrontation and the conflict? Because once they blow the whistle, they create a conflict, and they need to deal with that. Can you give us a couple of tips on how to manage that?
Yeah, and your backup is your conscience. That is your backup. You have to sleep at night knowing that you went in there and you called the game the way it was supposed to be called. Okay, look at my body language. 1 time, 2 time, I go in there 3 times showing with conviction that the player was taken down by the back of the jersey, 3 times. You look at the expression in the face, look at the body language, look at the signal. There is no doubt in my mind. There is 0 doubt in my mind, because this is the view that I had seen. That's the view that I had seen, not the cameras that the international feed was showing. This is what I saw. Junior Baiano grabbing Torandre by the back of the shirt. And we're not talking just one of these holding where 2 players are both holding in the penalty area. That's not what I'm talking about. If I'm going to call a penalty in the 89th minute of the match, in a 1-1 game, it's going to be a good penalty. It's going to be something that I'm going to be sure. And the only way I can do that is if I have taken the correct position, if I have the right angle, that I can see it, and I say, you know what, I bet my house on this thing. Even if the cameras don't pick it up, I bet my house on this thing. And if I have to die by this decision, I will die by this decision. I will take this decision with me to the end of my life. So luckily for me, the Swedish television had a camera behind the goal that picked up this angle, and they saw exactly what I saw. And the 16 cameras in the stadium did not have this angle. They were showing the other angles. They were showing this angle from here. I don't know who was the director of this the TV broadcast. Okay, they did not do their job. Really, they did not do their job. And this becomes an iconic moment for us. Iconic moment, because what I went through in 36 hours that led up until this picture came out. There were reporters on television showing red card and saying, send this American referee home right now. Why do we bring people from countries who don't have soccer? Why don't we bring 2 from Spain, 2 from Germany, 2 from France, 2 from England, countries who have soccer? And they did not know that I refereed more international games on any given weekend in this country, because when I did an amateur game, it was the Serbians and the Croatians, it was the Mexicans and Guatemalans, it was Honduras and El Salvador. Those were the matches that I did every Saturday and Sunday in the park without any protection. And those were more difficult games that this international supposedly came for them. So I had all the background from the playing, from the coaching. And, I don't want to say this to, to people who come with their noses high up in the air. We have probably forgotten more about the game than some of them would know, but they thought that they knew the game. So I was happy with my decision. I was going to die and live with that decision. Thank God the cameraman from Sweden had the camera from behind the goal. They did this picture, and this picture has become iconic because 10 years later, when I was in the US and I was going on a vacation in Europe, the reporters from Norway called and said, this is the biggest situation in history of Norway, and we want to come to Colorado and do an interview with you, and talk about it. And we have talked about to Junior Baiano and the coach and Toro on the floor and all of that, right? And I said, I'm in Europe. I'm traveling with my family. We're enjoying Europe. They said, where are you? I said, I'm in France. I said, oh, even better, because it's a shorter distance. We can fly into Paris and we're going to see you. And what a great idea to stand in front of the Arc de Triomphe, which is the symbol of victory. And they brought this picture. I did not have this picture. They brought this picture and said, can you stand in front of the Arc de Triomphe with this picture? Because the world crucified you. You went through 36 hours of being called every name in the book. You were incompetent. You were a cheat. You were, a thief. You had been paid, all of the above. And there is nothing better this to vindicate. And the sweet sweet vindication that, you know, finally the world saw what we saw. And, you know, really, American referee was better than 16 cameras. This is when they were talking about, oh, we should maybe use VAR and this and that. You know what? VAR would have messed up that day. The referee was better than VAR, because the VAR with their 16 cameras would have said no penalty, but the referee said penalty. And you know what? If I had to go and see a camera, if I had to go to a monitor and they would have still shown me those pictures, I would have said, you know what? I know what I saw. I am not crazy. I don't call a useless penalty. I don't call a simple bump in the last minute of the match for nothing. Okay? I'm a player. I'm a coach. I know the significance of this decision. I know how heavy of a decision this is, and I just don't do it the nilly-willy. So if I have to die by this decision, I will die by this decision. I will die standing on my feet, not on my knees. And that's the decision that we made, and it has become, it has found its own life. It doesn't go away. 20 years later, in 2018, they brought the same two teams together. They brought Norway and Brazil, same players back together, and they wanted me to go to Oslo and referee the game. And I said, guys, you know, I am not the same referee I used to be back then. You know, as far as running and this and that. They said, well, but the players have also aged. And I took one look and I said, oh, okay, I think I can do this game. So I went back to Oslo, and in 2018, when we were in Russia for the World Cup, I asked FIFA if they would allow me to go to Oslo to do this match and come back the next day. And they said, absolutely, go ahead and do it. And I went and did another game in 2018, same two teams, same players in Norway. So this has a life of its own. It doesn't go away.
And I think, like I said before, it is that decision, the courage to make that decision is the one that opened up the doors for future U.S. soccer referees. You're the one to clear up the path for the Mark Geigers and Jairs and everybody else to be look at as, you know, high level referees. And we do have, and some people don't understand that we do have a very high level referee program within the U.S. and you're part of it, right?
Yep.
So,
and you know, really, for me, it is all about the passion and the love that we put in here. And you know, for so many years they treated me like a second-class citizen. You know, even in '96 I go and do the semifinal, and then I go to '98 and they still talking about, you know, American referee and you guys don't have soccer. I'm like, really? Did you guys watch the semifinal of the Olympics? Did you watch the Brazil-Nigeria match? Do you do your homework? Do you watch? Do you see? Or you just talk cliches? And so I had a chip on my shoulder. And when I went to France, when I went to '98 World Cup, the referees of this country at the national camp had signed a jersey. Every single one of them had put their signature on it at the national camp. That they gave it to me. And this was my Superman cape. I took it with me, and before every game I would put it on. And I said, my national referees have given this to me, and they are representative of our program, not one, not two, not 200, but 140,000 strong, 140,000 strong. So when I walk onto the field, when I go to the Stade Velodrome in Marseille, and there's 60,000 people in the stands, and there's, you know, 22 players on the field, and another, I don't know, 30 or 40 sitting on the sidelines, for me, it was like, okay, you 60,000 and you 22 and you 30, 40, come to us because we're 140,000 strong. Okay, you can't stand up to us. Let's go and let's get this thing done. So I felt at every step of the way that the American referees were with me, and I was supporting them and they were supporting me. So it was this type of relationship that has brought us to the point where now I am proud to say this. In the 2018 World Cup in Russia, we had the most number of referees from this country. Brian Hall is in charge of referees in CONCACAF now. Carrie Sides is in charge of the women referees in FIFA. Mark Geiger has done great in 2014, 2018, and is now in charge of making sure that, you know, he passes it on to the next generation. I brought this torch to a level that I could pass it on to the others, and I continue to do it, and I go full circle. Now I'm back in Colorado, and I'm working with those kids, the 14-year-olds, the 15-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, the ones who have stars in their eyes, and they want to make it as far as they want to go. And if as far as they want to go is going to happen to be the USYS regionals or the nationals or whatever the case may be, or it's going to be amateur cup final or MLS or international, I'm there to make sure that they get every opportunity and every educational tool that they need to make it to that point, and keep them balanced with their feet to the ground and their eyes on the stars. I want them to have a Navy SEAL mentality. A Navy SEAL mentality is in it for the cause. They do it for the cause. They don't do it for the money. They don't ask which beautiful bed I'm going to sleep in today. Is it a heavenly bed in Westin or Hyatt? No. They don't. If they have to sleep in a ravine, that's what they do, because they're in it for the cause. And as long as we have this warrior mentality, as far as we have this Navy SEAL mentality for excellence and for the cause, and we do it because we love it and we have passion for the game, then you know what? They can conquer anything. And once you do that, once you get there, everything else will follow you. Money will come your way, fame will come your way, everything will follow you. You don't have to go chase it. They come looking for you. And if I can pass that information on, and if that I can pass that message on, then I have done my job, because I wanted to be in the Olympics as a player. Little did I know that I will break my tibia and fibia, and I become a referee, and that takes me on this fantastic journey that as a player or as a coach I would have never ever been able to make it. To sit here and look, 5 men World Cups, 4 Olympics, 3 women World Cups, 33 FIFA World Tournaments, and the number, I cannot count the number of CONCACAF, Copa Americas, tournaments, matches, Champions League, Copa Centenario, all of those. Incredible journey. But not one time I would have said, you know what, I'm doing this because I'm going to make another, I don't know, 50, 100, 200, whatever the case may be. I did it because I loved it. And when you do it with passion, things will come your way.
You weren't doing it for the money, that's for sure, because you were getting paid back then in those indoor games. You were getting paid like $35, $40, whatever that was.
Yeah, absolutely. So we used to do A-League, for $110. And then when MLS came in, I did the opening game of MLS and the final of the MLS. So the opening game and the final match, right? 160 each one. So when A-League was in, when I lived in Kansas City, I had to go to Oklahoma City and do games there for $50. And the hotel was on me, the transportation was on me, the gas was on, everything. So we were out of pocket. But you know what? I would have done it in a drop of a hat. You would have said it, do it again. I would say, I'm there. I'll be there, because I loved being a part of the game. To have the best seat in the house, to be part of this fantastic game, and to have the relationship that I have with the players and the coaches is absolutely incredible. Players and coaches are really my friends. They are my colleagues. They're not my enemies. They are my friends and colleagues, and I enjoy making their environment a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more fair, a little bit more easy. And that's it. That's the best I can do. And then these wonderful memories, the friends that we will make around the world, places we go, you cannot buy it with any money in the world. The type of mentors that we talked about, to have the friends like Gino, like Herb Silva, Mr. Alvarez, Chip, Greg Barkey, right? These people you cannot buy with all the money in the world. This is the best.
For someone who went from those 80s indoor games, right, to make it all the way up to the World Cup and to make that decision right there, I think that has a lot to do with you as a person. And I think the 3 perfect words to describe who you are as a person and what allowed you to make it through from those indoor games all the way up had to do with being humble. Number one, humbleness is number one. That's, to me, that's the number one requirement for a good referee. And you definitely have it. You could have been anywhere else on a Friday night, right? And instead you decided to come here and share your passion with hundreds of referees that you don't even know, but they're family, right? It's like the big family when they get together for a party and you don't even know who they are, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, they're cousins, so we all family, and you have it, my friend. So that's one. The other one, integrity, right? Without it, we're nothing, right? Just being honest is not enough. Integrity, that's another requirement, and courage. And those three things are the ones that allow you to develop your way of refereeing, your style, and to learn to pick up little things from those indoor games, the man management, the player management, the foul recognition, and moving up and keep using those tools, learning how to use them and master those tools, which allow you to get all the way up to that game. And here is the picture that I've been showing for the past 5 minutes. And what incredible call that was. And yet you wouldn't be able to make this call if it wasn't for being at the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And
And absolutely. I've had fantastic teachers. I've had fantastic mentors. I've had people who taught me, people who supported me. And what I had to do was I knew the game and I had to be in the right place at the right moment. So that all comes with the preparation. And for this to make a segue to the next section is the angle of view. You have to be able to see, and you have to get into the position to be able to see. The picture that you see there is exactly what I saw from the other side. So, except for this is from the cameraman's point of view, I had the exact same view from the other side. And that's why it was so easy for me to make this call in the 89th minute of the match, in a 1-1 tie, in a penalty against Brazil, the world champions, and all of that. And that all came from all the preparation, all the teachers that I had who had talked to me, who had worked with me, who had made it possible to make this happen in a crucial moment, in a crucial match, in the World Cup.
And another thing there's amazed me is the fact that you actually, when you were watching some of these clips, you actually remember the players' name, the players' number without looking at their jerseys, and you remember who had yellow cards prior, right?
Yeah,
who did what?
Absolutely.
That is passion.
I tell you a little story. So I tell you that players and coaches are my friends. So a great friend of mine who's a coach also, Marcello Curry. Marcello Curry played for the Colorado Avalanche, the Denver Avalanche, the indoor team. So when I was in the semifinal of the Olympics, Argentina, Portugal, I used to go onto the field and warm up because I wanted to get the what is normal today, but back then was really frowned upon. They did not want the referee to go onto the field. So I would go behind the goal. Instead of on the field, I would go behind the goal and run around. And I saw Marcello Curry, and Cello's like, Esse, what are you doing here? You're the referee? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Cello, what are you doing here? He said, I'm the team liaison with Argentina because Cello speaks Spanish fluently, and he was the liaison. I said, you talk to Ortega, you tell Ortega, Ariel Ortega, that I know he's sitting on a yellow, not to do anything stupid. And he's like, oh my God, Esse, you won't believe this. They were so worried that the referee wouldn't know this. I said, you tell him to be cool and not do anything stupid, but I know that he's sitting on a yellow. 2 minutes into the match, Ortega goes into a 50-50 tackle. 50-50 tackle. Had I not done my preparation, I didn't know, I might have gone with the yellow. I went to him and I just looked at him in the eye and I said, did Cello talk to you? Did Cello talk to you? And he went, perdón, árbitro, perdón. Finished. For 88 minutes, one of the most difficult players, Ariel Ortega, was in my back pocket. I didn't have to worry about him. All because I had done my preparation, and by luck, a friend of mine who's a player, Barcello Curry, happened to be the team liaison, and I saw him, and I told him, and he passed the information, and that's all I had to say. That's all I had to say to Ortega. For 88 minutes, I didn't have to worry about Ortega.
That you got to use whatever tools you have out there. Sometimes you just need to think outside the box, and you're absolutely right with that. Let me bring in Chris. Chris, are you there now?
I am here.
Good. Sorry, we're taking over your time.
Well, you're
Hayden.
fine. Esse has a fantastic message and has hit home on quite a few things that hit with me. The one I think of right off the top of my head is Esse probably doesn't remember, but many years ago, he and I worked a game together at the Plano Labor Day tournament. It was late 90s, early 2000s, and I ran his line. And I'll never forget that. And then the other thing he mentioned was about indoor. It was his indoor days. A little known fact about me, I do a handful of MASL games in the off season, and Esse hit the nail on the head. The reason is that game, the indoor game, is so fast. It forces you to make decisions at breakneck speed. And then when you go back outside, the game feels like it's in slow motion. So I dabble in the indoor arena half a dozen times in the winter, and the biggest reason is to keep my brain sharp.
And I hear that, Esse, you're still doing some of those D2 games. Is that right?
Which games?
Indoor games. You're still doing some of them every once in a while?
Well, you know, the two of my friends, one is Graham Florence, who's refereeing here in Colorado, and the other one, Steve Gigan. And they were both goal judges when I was doing indoor. So they had never refereed an indoor game back then. And they both wanted to do a game with me. I'm like, come on, guys, do me a favor, please. And they're like, no, we always wanted to do a game with you. So I came out and I did one game with Graham Florence and one game with Steve Gigan. And I told them, guys, you know, this game is for young people. You know, when I'm running, I want to run. I want to be there. I want to be quick. I want to be with the players. And, you know, I have put on many moons on me now. So I did it just to be with them and let them know that I'm here for you. But you know what? For both of those games, I had to train. I started training. I started running because I didn't want to go out there and make a fool out of myself. And I wanted to be out there, you know, don't take the shine off. And people say, this was the World Cup referee. So, you know, I had to do a lot of training to get back in shape and go do the games with them. But, you know, that was it. I think I have passed it on and no more. So, but I'll be more than happy to be out there watching the games and mentoring and assessing and talking to them.
So I don't think we'll be seeing you doing this anymore. You see yourself down there?
Yeah, because you know, I used to jump up. I used to grab the plexiglass, go on top of the plexiglass, you know, get out of the way and things of that nature. You know, if I did that now, I'll probably need a week to recover.
We all do. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take just a couple of questions from the audience while Chris, we're gonna give Chris the desktop so he can set up his presentation, if that's okay with you, Chris.
Sure, go for it.
So let's bring in, I'm gonna give Chris the power first. It's gonna be easier. And we're gonna bring in Sad. Let's see if Sad is here. We bring in Sam. Let's bring Sam in. Sam, how are you?
Hey, Rich, how are you? How you doing? Another great program today. So, thank you.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I do. Esse Baharmast, man, ایرانی هستم. I just want to say salam. We've never met, but I've heard obviously a lot about you. I started unfortunately a little bit late than I wanted to, but I just want to say that you make all us referees proud, but especially in the Iranian American community. You know, we are I guess a small community in this country, and since our diaspora in a way. So in that sense, it's kind of hambatan, you know. So I wanted to say thank you for that representation, and we're very proud of the work that you have done and the way you represented not only yourself and our people, as well as, you know, obviously the United States of America. So I wanted to just reach out and say hello and thank you. And I guess my question was, how has the sophistication of the game changed, if that is the right word to use? Your speed of play, tactical elements, you know, video reviews by players to see, you know, positioning and set pieces and those type of scenarios. So if you could comment on that, and I wanted to, like I said, thank you very much. تشکر.
خیلی متشکرم سام عزیز. I said thank you so much in Farsi to Sam, so he knows that I have not forgotten my roots. And you know, I have it. We speak Farsi at home, and for me it has been a pleasure. You know, I come from a country that has had a great civilization, a country of 2,500 years of history. Unfortunately, these are you know, not so good times for it. And I learned the game in Iran, and I brought it with me here. And you know, that part is always in me. That will not go away. A lot of my success is because of all the games that I watched as a little kid, when I, you know, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, going to the stadiums, watching these derbies there. The game has become faster. The game has become more physical and more technical. But at the end of the day, the game is the game is the game. So Johan Cruyff said, game of soccer is a very simple game. The difficulty is to keep it simple. So for me, it's a simple game as long as you do all of your homework. So part of what we do, especially at the FIFA level with the teams, with the players, we do scouting of the teams. This is something that I used to do way back. I would study every player, I would study their tactics, I would watch their set plays. I would know exactly what was going to happen. So for example, let's take an example of Mexico national team. Every time they had a corner, you know that Rafa Marquez would come out for a header. And when Rafa Marquez came for a header, there would be another player who would do a pick, like basketball, who would come in and hold off another player to allow Rafa to become free. So if you watch this thing and you were ready for it, you knew exactly what was going to come up on a corner kick, and you were not surprised. So the game has changed, but as far as, you know, scouting the teams, knowing the tactics, watching their set plays, number of goals, and for me these days is much easier because everything's on YouTube. I mean, you can watch every team's games on YouTube. You can get any game. I have access to this website that I can get the games from every team, even second division, even third division teams in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, anywhere. And I can prepare myself, I can prepare our referees so they know what's going on. And for me, that part of coaching that I'm talking about, I love it when I look at a team and I can pretty much know what the lineup's going to be like beforehand. Okay. I don't have all the information if a player is, you know, nagging injury or not a nagging injury and things like that. But at the World Cup, I would sit with the referees pretty much before and have the lineup, the starting lineup for the two teams, and let them know this team is going to do this in the first 15 minutes here, and you know, that's the preparation. So yes, the game has become faster. The players have become better athletes, no doubt about it. The speed of the game is so much faster. The laws of the game have changed in order to make the game faster. Then, you know, offside situation now, you know, in the old days, player was offside position, the flag went up. Now you have to be involved, you have to be interfering, and it is so difficult. But again, the game is the game, it is the game. And for me,
the more you keep it simple, the more you look at it with the fundamentals, the easier it becomes.
All right, great. So we have, you know what, we have a lot of questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to forward those to you. And if you have time, if you ever have time, you can reply back and we'll forward them to the referees. But the truth is that if we really going to take everybody's questions, we're going to be here until next week. And that's not fair for Chris. I mean, he put so much into his presentation. At least we want to give him 5 minutes, don't you think, Esse? Let's give him 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
I only need 4. I need 4.
So just a final question for someone who does not have a mic, and that is, in a college game or amateur game, which is pretty similar, other than the rules, when it comes to managing behavior. And this question is for both. On that play, on the penalty decision on the Norway-Brazil game, to sell it, all right? Can we use it as a tool by sanctioning that misconduct with a yellow card? You think that will help us sell the decision? And that's a question for the two of you.
Well, you know, I know I was going to be able to yellow card Junior Bayano on that play, right? I knew it. I have always been a player's referee. I don't put the knife in and, you know, twist it. So for me, at that moment in time, I felt that penalty was enough. I know I could have given him a yellow card. Back then, it was not mandatory. It was not mandatory. So I had that flexibility to give or not to give. And I said, you know what? For me, but my body language, I have given the penalty. I don't need to put the knife in him and twist it anymore. The penalty is enough on that in that time of the match, in that moment of the match, and I left it at that. I could have as easily given the yellow card, and you know, not to sell the card, not to sell it, but because of the nature of the holding on the sporting behavior. But again, back then it was not mandatory. So I'm always a player's referee. If I can cut him a break, I'll cut him a break. And that's what I did. But yeah, of course, you can give a yellow card on that for sure, especially these days, because that's pretty much you are, you know, handcuffed into giving it.
That's fair. How about you, Chris? Like in a college game, for instance?
No, I'm with Esse on this. I've never been a big fan of giving yellow cards in these situations just to sell the decision. I think we sell the decision with 3 things: with our position, with our body language, and with conviction. Is how we do that. I think if the player's behavior deserves a yellow card, then that's a different situation. But perhaps in this case, you know, a yellow card is warranted, but just to give it to sell your decision is would be going down a slippery slope.
That's fair, and I think that answers that question very well. So we have thank you, Esse. I know it's kind of late there, but if you want to stay a couple more minutes and enjoy Chris' presentation, he spent a lot of time into this.
Sure, of course.
We really thank you. We really thank you very much, Esse. And
Thank you.
it was a pleasure to have you and to share all your knowledge and everything. My pleasure to have you on.
No, and I say it again, Papa Gino D'Ippolito passed it on to me, and the least I can do in his honor and to uphold his wonderful name is to pass it on to others. And you know, that's how we pass it forward and make sure we're just like, you know, parents. Every parent wants their kid to be more successful and better than they ever were. So my pleasure comes from seeing our referees go further and achieve more than any of us did in the past. So that is the goal.
Thank you, Esse. Thank you. And without further interruptions, here is crease pencil with angle of view versus distance.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Esse. Fabulous presentation. I don't mind one bit that you ran over. So I think I speak for the entire group tonight that we would listen to you as long as Richard would let us. So appreciate you having me. I put together a quick presentation. I think it's only about 24 slides. It's angle of view versus distance. And in this modern game, as the game's always evolving, we're always looking at things that we can do as referees, as officials, to increase our accuracy of not only key match incidents, but all of our decisions, right? So we'll just dive right in if I can get my computer to work. Agenda. So four quick areas: keys to positioning. And I broke it out into 2 areas: active play and then set pieces. And we'll wrap it up with some questions. Positioning is all about having the right angle to make the best decision. And sometimes we're 10 yards away, and sometimes we're 25 yards away. But what matters the most is the angle. And can we see the contact? And how we do that is through body position, having awareness of the personnel around us in the passing lanes that we're either going through or standing in. Continuous movement, always keeping our feet moving and incorporating changes in speed into our movement. Movement at the breakdown. So anytime we see a team lose possession and the other team look to counter, a big key to getting in the right position is immediately accelerating and going downfield. Lateral movement for angles. And this game is a game of inches. So sometimes that's just a half a shuffle to the right or half a shuffle to the left. And that gives you everything you need to see. And then dynamic movement. When play is in or around the penalty area, we talk extensively about this in the professional arena. And I use a lot of these words in my role as the director of referee development for TISOA in North Carolina. And the weekly reports that I put out, that we have to be dynamic around the top of the penalty area in that final third. We have to work. That's where the biggest decisions come, and that's where we have to earn our money. So having the right angle to make the best decision, how do we do that? What do we need to see? We need to see the ball, the exact moment and point of contact, and we need to have the ability to see the speed and movement of players challenging. If we're too close, we get sucked in, we don't really have an appreciation for the speed at which the player is making the challenge, the distance that player is coming from. So sometimes being too close doesn't do us any good. So we'll dive into active play. We'll use our keys to positioning, give ourselves the best chance to get the decision correct. We'll jump into the first clip. A few things to look at while we're watching this.
This goalkeeper away, so how can you?
Notice the referee's continuous movement. Just before the challenge, he just takes just the ever so slightest movement to the right. That way he's not looking directly through the back. He's got an angle to see the contact. He sees the player come in and show his studs. The contact is low, right? So using our considerations, the referee correctly issues a yellow card. It just so happens to be the player's second yellow card, and off he goes. So you'll see a quick replay here. Referee's moving during the play. Prior to this, moves. Has a good angle to see it. Sees everything he needs to see. Sees the contact between the two players. Sees the way that the player challenges and comes to the right decision. Move on to clip 2. As we watch this clip, let's think about movement north-south versus movement east-west. So the ball's played forward. The referee's a little late to react. When the pass is made, but reacts after the foul occurs. Unfortunately, when the foul occurs, since we were a little flat-footed, he's looking directly through and probably can't really appreciate the nature of the challenge. So we'll back up. I'm going to pause it. So we're here, we're a little flat-footed in the center circle, if everybody can see that. We're a little late to react, and then when the moment the challenge occurs, we have the player here in white, most likely screening his angle of view. And if we were a little quicker to accelerate, perhaps we'd be over here, a little outside of the center circle, and we'd have a better angle to see this contact. which does warrant a yellow card. The contact's low, made with the studs. Unfortunately, the referee only has a word with the player and lets him off without any misconduct. So here what we want to focus on is being a little more dynamic in the midfield. And that way, when this happens, we'd have an angle to see the contact. And then the question I would pose to everybody here is, there's no fourth official in this game. This is I think it's a Division 2 game, Division 2 or Division 3 game. Can the assistant referee on the bench side offer any input here? May or may not be looking at the offside line. We would hope that he could offer any input. There's no impending offside decision. The ball's not been played into the AR's line of sight. So hopefully with a quick glance, the AR could see up the touch line and see that contact. And in a game where you're using communication devices, easily offer the input. Say, hey, I see studs. Studs are low. For me, this is 100% caution. And then the referee can make a decision. In the games where we don't have communication devices, well, we have to revert to the old school ways, right? Maybe a referee looks at you and you can pat on your chest and convey the information that way. We'll move to clip 3. You'll notice the referee's body position is anticipation in the next phase of play. Watching the play build up, referee expects the ball to be played long, but does a good job of keeping an eye on the play behind him so he can see any challenge at the last second. And as we see, the Clemson player does come in and challenge late after the ball has been played away. The referee issues a yellow card. AR does well here to enter the field and help with a small mass confrontation. Both the referee and the AR do well not to get too excited or overreact. So he gets him with the trail leg, sweeps the foot. So 100% yellow card. And the question, the last bullet here is, who has the best angle to see this challenge? And if you look at the way the challenge is made, the AR is likely closer, has no impending offside decision, should be 100% focused on this challenge as it's occurring in his area of control. And in clips like these, when the referee's preparing for the long ball downfield, we would hope and expect that the assistant referee has the correct information to give to the referee, which would be a yellow card. Referee, he's coming late. He didn't make contact with the lead foot, which if you look at that in full speed, if he makes contact with the lead foot, we're thinking possibly a different colored card. But the AR can offer the information that he sweeps him with the trail foot. The trail foot's on the ground. For me, this is 100% yellow card. And then obviously the referee can take that information. Move on to clip 4. Here we've got play inside around the penalty area. And when we talk about positioning, we talk about angles, we talk about movement. We hit on one of the bullet points of key positioning, which is our dynamic movement in and around the penalty area and the final third, the attacking third of the field. So in this clip, we'll see the referee does a good job to be mobile, moves with play. At the time of this shot, has the perfect angle to see the defender create a barrier with their arm. We discussed on the RWISOA stimulus quiz last week with Mr. Geiger. The quiz results were over handball. And one of the key factors we look at now is, does the arm create a barrier? Is the arm in an unnatural position and create a barrier for the shot? And the referee's movement here is good. We notice that he started over here on the left side of the penalty area and moved with play over to the right, keeping his body orientation square to the inline, as well as to the area of the decision, and gets the decision right. So for us here, we have a penalty kick and a yellow card, as this is a shot on goal. And the referee gets this right because of his movement. He's in an optimal position with the perfect angle to see the handling offense. This is where we earn our money. These are the big decisions in the penalty area in the final third of the field. And if we do the little things, like just a little bit of dynamic movement, 10, 15 yards, either way, we get these decisions right. Here we'll notice in this clip, I want you to pay close attention to how the referee gives up a little bit of distance to ensure that he has the right angle. So you notice he goes left so that he's make sure he's not screened by number 5 in black who's running in front of him. And in doing so, he's able to see the contact by the white defender on the back of the leg of the black defender contact on the leg of the white attacker. So the movement here, obviously he's a little further away than we'd like to be, but he has the right angle. Just those couple steps to the left have ensured that he's not blocked by the defender just a couple steps in front of him. He has a clear line of sight to see the contact on the lower leg and correctly give a penalty kick. If he hadn't taken those 2 steps, we may not see it and he may wave it off, because the last thing we want to do in the penalty area is guess, right? So movement is key here. Just a couple steps to the left and we don't have to guess. We have everything we need. We have all the facts to make an accurate decision. Active play, clip 6. This one has quite a bit in it. We're going to start by keeping an eye on the referee's movement. He's a little late to react to the pass that goes out to the right. And as referees, traditionally our diagonal is on the left. But in the modern game, we're instructing referees more and more that when we need to move as play dictates. And if that means going to the right side of the penalty area so that we have an angle of view to see these decisions on the right side of the penalty area, then that's where we have to go. Some more dynamic movement is needed in this clip. When we see play go to the right, the referee's late to react. I'll pause it, I'm gonna go back. So here when the player turns, we know he only has one option, and it's this player off to the right who's wide open. So now is our time for a quick 10, 15 yard burst through the middle of the field, over to the right side to give us an angle to see any potential challenge that is just about to happen. So here's the challenge on the end line. The referee's been late to react. He's still around the top of the D here at the penalty area, whereas if we had reacted about a second earlier, we'd be hopefully in this general area over here with a clear line of sight to see the challenge. The referee initially waves it off. The AR correctly raises his flag, gives the information. Pay no attention to the mayhem on the touchline. The referee and the AR correctly have a conference. And play is eventually restarted with a penalty kick. Now, given where the foul occurs, as an AR, we'd first look at the referee to see where he's at. Assuming in this Division I game, we'd most likely have communication devices. And the AR could immediately offer up the information, penalty, penalty, penalty. If the referee doesn't take the information, and the AR is 110% sure of what he saw in this key match incident, we would expect the AR to raise the flag and insist. As this is a clear penalty. But our hope is, as referees, when we see this play develop and come out to the right, that we would explode with a quick burst through the midfield, over to the right side of the penalty area, and be within about 15 yards and be able to have a good angle to see the decision. Moving on to clip 7, this is our worst nightmare as officials. Plays that happen right on a boundary line. So you'll notice as we play the clip, referee is dynamic at the start. It's continuous movement, slight negative movement. We'll pause it there. He takes a little bit of negative movement here. Anytime we take negative movement, we want to make up that ground. So In this case, we'd want a quick burst just to get about 5 yards closer. We expect the referee to move laterally out to the right as we have an attacker taking on a defender, and we have a high likelihood of a decision that could occur on a boundary line. Like this. So you'll see the referee has stayed central. Has a good angle to see the two players, but unfortunately does not have a good angle to see where the contact occurs. And these are our worst nightmares as referees because there's nothing here that the assistant referee can do to help us. Any input the assistant referee would be giving us would most likely just be a guess. As referees, this is where we make our money. We have to explode out to the right side, give ourselves the best chance to be able to see this contact. Now the referee runs, then points to the penalty after he sees where the player has fallen on the ground, which for some of our senior referees, it's kind of using context clues and trusting your gut. So thankfully, at the end of the day, we get this decision right. But the key here is to be able to get it right with conviction. Back it up. So you see here, the contact occurs. Did not mean to do that. Apparently, it's my first time using a computer. All right, here we go. Wait for the replay. And as officials, we need to be comfortable going off of our diagonal and going to the right when play dictates that we do that in order to get decisions right. So we'll see here the contact occurs right on the line of the penalty area. And the only way we get this right without guessing is if we've drifted over to the right so that we can have an angle to see this contact. This is where we make our money as referees. These are the big decisions that we have to get right, and we get these right through dynamic movement and focusing on our positioning and angle. Active play clip 8. As we watch this, we'll pay attention. The referees move to the right side of the penalty area with play. While he's not running, he's always moving. You'll notice right before the decision, he takes just a step or two back to give him a better view, a more clear view of the contact. He's square to the decision, and he's decisive. He immediately points to the spot after the contact from the defender on the attacker. So right here, you see just a couple steps back. We start the clip. He's drifted to the right side. He's on the right side of the arc. There's quite a few defenders and attackers on this side, so this is a good position to be in. There's really nobody over here. He's not leaving himself too exposed. Plays over on the right, so he goes that way. Play comes out, just a couple steps back. He's got a clear view. He's square to the contact, square to the challenge. There's an excellent view of it, the perfect angle. Again, I can't work a computer today. There we go. And immediately points to the spot. So a correct decision with conviction that's achieved through being a perfect position with the perfect angle. You know, and this is the semifinal, I believe, of a conference tournament in Division I. So, you know, Richard, we talk about the college game, and even in college, we've got big games, and these conference tournaments are big games where it's for some of these smaller Division I conferences, it's the only way they're going to get to the tournament. So we have to make sure that we're working hard, being in the right position to get these big calls right. Move on to clip 9. This is another play in kind of the referee's danger zone on the right side of the penalty area. And when we don't move right with play is when we get in trouble. So not only is she fouled once, she's fouled twice. And in the entire series of the clip, we never see the referee. So the ball comes from a throw-in. Naturally, when we have a throw-in, we tend to, as when I instruct or mentor, train younger officials, we try to teach our referees to pinch somewhere in line with the edge of the penalty area. If you drew a line, took the edge of the penalty area and connected it with the other edge of the penalty area, that's kind of where we pinch in for a throw-in. And the referee hasn't done that here. And if he had, he'd be fairly close, able to have a good view. Player takes on the defender. She's held. She's let go. Goes to the ground. Defender challenges again, kicks her in the leg. And still the referee's nowhere to be seen. Before this night's over, I'll stop doing this, I promise. So as referees, ideally, if we had pinched in for the throw-in, we'd be over in this general area. We'd have the perfect angle. We'd be at the perfect distance. We'd be able to see the play clearly and correctly give the penalty. The play develops pretty slowly, so there's really no reason the referee shouldn't be able to move, be dynamic, get over to the right side of the penalty area, and have the information here. Now, it's a little further infield than we typically like for an assistant referee to get involved, but as an AR, if you do have a clear line of sight to see this and you're 100% sure that there has been a penalty, if you have communication devices, again, we'd say penalty, penalty, penalty. Wait for the referee's acknowledgement. And then if you're 100% sure and he says, doesn't give you any information, then we raise the flag and we insist. If you don't have communication devices and you're 100% sure the penalty is there, the flag goes up. And then you go to the corner flag. And then one of the bullets in key positioning was being aware of personnel around us in passing lanes. And a lot of times, these are most prevalent in the middle third of the field, where the ball is moving the most, where the most players are. And we have to make sure as referees, we're dynamic in the midfield, we accelerate through, get ready for the next phase of play, and we stay out of passing lanes. Here, the referee's not aware of the players around him, ends up causing the team to lose possession of the ball, and our worst nightmare, the ball ends up in the back of the net. So if we go back to this, we're flat-footed here. The player turns. When he turns, he's got probably he can go back to the guy where the ball just came from. He can go out to the right, or chances are he's got somebody in here in the middle. And as referee luck would have it, he plays it to the person in the middle who had space, but the referee took it, causes him to lose possession of the ball. One pass, 3 touches, and the ball is in the back of the net. So it's key for referees to always be aware of where we're at in the midfield, be aware of the players around us, be aware of the passing lanes that they're using. In this situation right here, it probably would be more beneficial as referees if we were further downfield in anticipation in the next phase. A quicker recognition when this player receives the ball, a quick glance to see what his options are. Hopefully you would see the player that's only just a couple steps away from you, and just a quick 5-yard burst, either laterally or backwards, would probably fix this situation and keep this from happening. So just a reminder, be dynamic in the midfield and be aware of personnel and passing lanes. Just a real quick clip that my good friend Mark Hayan put together. So focus this video compilation is the best practices that occurred during the NCAA, highlight the best practices that occurred in 2018 men's final between Maryland and Akron. And the very first part of this clip here, the takeaway here is you'll see it from the online camera, is I give up distance and go wide to ensure I have angle. And then close down the distance. So as referees, it needs to be angle over distance. Quick burst to the left allows me to see the challenge, correctly give a corner kick. Just highlighting the need for dynamic movement in the final third. And always make sure that we run out the play. Moving on to set pieces. Three important aspects of set piece positioning: drop zone, prioritizing decisions in the penalty area, and making sure that we assign tasks in our pregame. And what I mean by that is with more and more of our college conferences using communication devices, this is really easy to do. Anytime we have a free kick where there's going to be a great deal of distance that the ball travels. And I think this is in a Vocero presentation that I put together for the NCAA either last year or 2 years ago. But we want to assign tasks, and we can do this pregame. We can remind our crewmates, our crew members during the game. So say we have a free kick along the touchline on the bench side. It's going to be served into the penalty area. We can easily ask our AR1 or our fourth official, say, hey, keep an eye on the wall, please. You've got the wall. Or any free kick in front of an AR, we can say the wall is yours. And the referee can prioritize his position where the group of players are, where the next phase of play will be. Let's look at some videos. Here we have a free kick we just talked about in front of the benches. It's really not a wall.
Freshman, you can imagine.
I want to pause it here and show our starting position. It's clear by looking at the personnel and the setup of the free kick that the ball is going to be served into or near the penalty area. And with no real defenders lurking around the free kick, with the exception of the one, which can be managed by the fourth official. As referees, ideally, we'd want to be a little deeper downfield, probably in this general area, so that we're closer to the next phase of play in the drop zone. So what happens here is the ball is played and then headed back. And at one point, the referee is out of the camera angle, which is a pretty wide camera angle. So at one point here, we're roughly 30 yards away from play inside the penalty area. And this ball could be played right now into this defender who may or may not handle the ball. And we won't have an angle or a credible position to be able to see the contact. So if we're smarter about our positioning prior to the free kick, we'd be at the top of the penalty area for when this ball is played and eventually goes out for a corner kick. So remember, delegate tasks, let the fourth official handle any potential wall issues. As referees, prepare for the next drop zone and prioritize your penalty area. This is where our big decisions typically occur. We had Rubiel on the call earlier tonight. I've got a clip from the men's Division I final that he refereed last year, which was quite an exciting game, 3-3, all the way to kicks and mark. Georgetown gets their first ever national championship. And here we talked about, let me back it up. We have a free kick that's over here. This is just at the end of the benches. Certainly a free kick that a fourth official could manage. Can keep an eye on the wall in case there's any handling offense or encroachment. Rubiel takes up a very smart position near the top of the penalty area. His feet are constantly moving as the ball is played in. Quick couple steps to make sure he has an angle to see the contact on the back post. He's probably thankful that the ball ends up in the back of the net because this reeks of a dog so handling, but the ball's in the back of the net. And Rubiel, through constant movement, always keeping his feet moving, is in a good position to see everything that occurs. We'll move on to corner kicks. What we want to do is we want to avoid high traffic areas. Any of you that are coaches or have seen the grid that's used in the coaching courses or have heard the term zone 14. Zone 14 is the area at the top of the penalty area where the most traffic occurs, the most shots are taken.
Hustling for position.
And we want to avoid zone 14, especially during this time. So zone 14 would be in this area, right up in here. Referee here is taking a very tight position, incredibly close to the mass of players, also in a high traffic area. So we have to remember that proximity often diminishes our full picture. We want to make sure we have a wider view. We watched the clip earlier where the referee drifted to the right takes a couple steps backwards right before there's a challenge, gives himself a better picture of the contact and correctly gives a penalty here. A more ideal position would be somewhere over here to the left side of the arc, where you'd be able to manage the corner kick in the event of anybody over there trying to set up, while still giving you a good angle to see the players and the contact in the penalty area. We also want to make sure that we're never flat-footed on the taking of a corner kick. We're going to constantly keep our feet moving, creating angles. So the referee here's a bit cemented. Ball comes out. Luckily, it doesn't come right at him. But the trouble we run into here is that ball could come out. He could be in the way of a shot. He could be in the way of a defender clearing the ball. Quite a few cons, not very many pros of this position. So what we want to do is stay over here to the left. We'd have a good angle to see all of the challenges in here, and then move as play dictates. We watch this next clip, a lot of the same features. Referee's taking a position on the right. Not that there's no blanket statement that says we never go to the right. I think that our positioning here is dictated by what has occurred in the game. Traditionally, our position is back here on the left side because there's nobody back here that can help us with any decisions. But if you are in a game and you have a team that's historically taking a lot of short corners on the right side, then maybe we want to consider pinching in over here. Most of the time, though, the majority of the time, we want to stay over here on the left. Keep an eye on these players in the back post. But the referee takes position on the right, is moving. Begins to come left. Unfortunately, goes back to the right, and then, as referee luck would have it, the ball served to the back post. The referee, you'll notice, has a large pile of players to look through. Chances are he's not going to be able to have a clean look at any contact that occurs in the back post. Whereas if we had taken up our traditional position back here on the left, had all the players in our AR in view, we'd have a very clear look at this contact and activity on the back post, backside of the goal. So as officials, as referees, let's just protect ourselves. Take the position that's going to give us the best angle, give us the most in view. The other thing to think about on the right side is when we stand over here, typically we're going to have the same angle that our assistant referee has. Meanwhile, there's no angle on the back post. So traditional positioning, back post, keeps everything in view. One last corner kick to look at. Referee takes position right here in the middle again, high traffic area, zone 14. Looking dead on at all the players. If we're looking here, the referee, there's two players right here that are challenging, pushing. Not much of an angle to see that contact here, but if we had moved over to the left to our traditional spot, we'd have a good angle to see that contact. Ball goes back post. There's a bit of a scrum. Looks like the ball goes out, comes back in. Referee still hasn't moved, and then taking the kick. So you notice the referee cements himself. We need to be more dynamic here at the top of the penalty area. Continuous movement. Avoid the areas of high traffic. Give ourselves clear line of sight on these set pieces. Last but not least, a quote that I heard a little while back: while presence may lend conviction, angle will lend accuracy. So we don't always need to be 5-10 yards away. We just need to have the right angle. That's my presentation. Made up a little bit of our time. It's 9 o'clock on the dot. My email at the bottom, which Richard is probably going to ask me to speak on here in a second. My email is neweraofficials@gmail.com. That is also the name of my arbiter group. For those of you that belong, New Era Officials. I am the new coordinator of officials for the American Athletic Conference, which is Division I, as well as the Sun Conference and NAIA Conference down here We have teams in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. So, Richard, I'll hand it over to you.
You're the man. We have a lot of questions. How much time do you have?
I'm not going anywhere.
You're not going home?
Oh, I'm home. I'm sitting on the couch with my foot up on pillows. So I got all night.
I thought you were in your swimming pool.
I got a cast on my right leg, which doesn't allow me in the pool for a couple of weeks. So.
Oh my gosh. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
What the heck happened?
I had an Achilles issue that's long been bothering me. And back in March, I suffered another partial tear in my Achilles. Went and saw the doctor, and x-rays revealed a very substantial amount of excess bone spur, and some pieces had broken off, and the time was right to go in and repair it. So.
Yeah, perfect time. Perfect time to get better.
Yeah, for sure.
Not what we would like, but it's a good time for you. So yeah, let's open up the microphone here. We have some interesting questions. While I look for those officials on the side here, I have an email question with someone we know, Mike, and it has to do with pretty much clips 6, 7, 8, and 9, and it had to do with the what we used to call no man's land, right?
Yep.
And due to today's game speed, since it's so fast, what are your recommendations regarding you get stuck flat-footed, right? And you know you need to get there because you can't expect your AR to make that decision. You can choose either 7 or 8 or 9, 6.
Yep. We're all decisions on the right side of the penalty area.
Yeah, I know
Yep.
you mentioned about the big rectangle. For us, we know what that means, but the majority of these referees don't know. Can you kind of explain to them and elaborate a little bit more about what do you mean by drawing those lines and creating the big rectangle, and how you should use that to guide you when you need to take off for when the play is going to that area?
Yeah, sure. So, typically if you look at a soccer field, we've got the penalty area, and inside the penalty area is the goal area. And if you drew a line from the edge of the goal area up to the top of the penalty area, and then took that space on the right side of the penalty area all the way over to the edge, that's kind of that box. That's no man's land. That's an area that, as referees, if you're true to your diagonal, you're typically not very close to. And that's also an area where sometimes our assistant referees are maybe a little too far away to offer input. So in the modern game, as fast as it is, just how the game has gotten faster, the modern game has gotten faster, we now require more fitness from our referees, right? So, and that's one of the reasons. So when we get into those areas and we notice that an attacker and a defender are one-on-one and there's going to be a challenge, we want to drift right. And this doesn't have to be every time the ball's over there. We want to just, this game is about angles. This game is about, predicting the next phase of play. And as referees in the final third, you've got so many decisions and so many things going on that you just kind of you got to read play and hope that you get it right. So that when you read play and you're seeing that it may be a decision over there, we want to drift right so that we give ourselves a better opportunity to get the decision right. And that doesn't mean we've got to be right on top of it. Sometimes it's just a quick 5 less than 10 yards that we just need to drift and give ourselves a better chance to get that decision right. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
most definitely. Let's open up the mic for Sam here.
Yeah.
See if we can get him.
Hey, Rich, how are you again?
You home, right?
Yes. Nobody's going anywhere, right? Hey, Chris, great job. How are you?
Good, thanks. You?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. We got one. I see your 3 beautiful girls that popped up on your screen. So I want to say congratulations to that. I got one 3.5-year-old and then one on the way. So
awesome. Congratulations.
In these tough times, at least I got something to look forward to.
For sure, it's a
I
blessing
just
to be able to spend the extra time with the family.
absolutely, and best to your health with the Achilles, and hopefully get you back on the field to do what you do
Appreciate
as
it.
soon as possible. Of course. Just wanted to ask you. We're talking about the zone 14 you mentioned. If you could just elaborate on that. It's something that I haven't, I guess, heard about. So I wanted to, I guess, be a little more educated on that.
Sure. In the coaching programs, the field's divided up into zones, and the zone at the top of the penalty area on the attacking side of the field is known as zone 14. That's the space that encompasses the penalty area arc in about 5-10 yards upfield. So that zone there is where the most activity occurs. It's where we have teams looking to get free kicks. It's where we have the most shots taken. That's just an area that, as referees, if we enter that zone, we want to be really dynamic and get out of that zone as fast as we can. Because typically what's going to happen is we're going to get in the way, we're going to get hit, or we're going to be too close to a decision. So, and we're not going to have an angle to see it. So the teaching nowadays is to, if not necessarily stay out of there, but if you're going to be in there, be dynamic and be fluid and get out of there as fast as you can.
Gotcha. So kind of like a boxer, in and out. You know.
Yep, in and out.
Gotcha.
Get in there, create your angle, get out.
And is that the only zone that's like, you know, I guess you focus on? I mean, obviously the in front of the technical areas. I know in Tori's presentation, the new term for it that was referred to by Rob, but that's another zone, I would presume, correct?
Absolutely. We've got those kind of hot spots across the field, right? We've got in front of the benches. We've got at the top of the penalty area. We've got those spots in the field where, as referees, it's just kind of like our awareness perks up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You do a great job of covering the field as far as your angles, and obviously, you know, you hustle into position, you read it, you anticipate it well. So it's nice watching the way you kind of move around with a lot of fluidity. So
Thanks,
enjoy watching you. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rich. Again, great presentation. Great. You know, my wife is yelling at me Friday night, but you know, I got to do it.
You can blame me. You can blame me all day long. Don't worry about it.
Thank you very much. Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe.
You got it. Thank you. That's kind of a compliment anyway when somebody yells at me nowadays, since you know, we don't have coaches yelling at us anymore. As a matter of fact, I feel like calling some of my coaches friends and tell them, hey, why don't you curse me out a little bit? I'm bored here. I need to go back to the old routine. Let's bring in Assad from Iowa.
Assad.
Yeah.
How are you, buddy?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, you?
Oh, relaxing.
Good.
So I had a question for both you and Esse. I don't know if he's on, so I'll just change it to fit your conversation with angles. So a lot of times we talk about making sure that we're staying fluid on the field, making sure we have dynamic movement. What are drills that you guys do at the professional level, or drills that you do on your own to ensure you're maintaining that dynamic movement?
Sure. I think over the last few years, we've seen a shift a bit in our training at the professional level. We spend a good bit of time doing things like jumping and a lot of lower body training, a lot of quick bursts. We do a lot of repeat sprint work, short, quick bursts, a lot of plyometric stuff, a lot of hops and skips and jumps, side skips, all kinds of stuff to just give our legs a little more strength, a little more power, and make us more dynamic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep, and I'm still on the call, so this is Esse.
Hey.
At the FIFA tournaments, we have the luxury of having players who are on the field with us. So we do a lot of actual game situations in and around the penalty area. So we have, it's almost like a mini game, but it's more drills type of thing. And the players know that the different plays that we have set up So we could have penalty situations on the left side of the penalty area and the right side of the penalty area. We move the ball constantly, and the referees go through this. And we also have cameras that videotape everything, and we have instant feedback to give it back to them, so they know what they did right or wrong. In tournaments where we don't have players, the luxury of having players, we can do the same type of exercises, but using cards or signals in different parts of the penalty area. So we'll have the referee actually go through a dynamic yo-yo, which they go to a cone to the left of the penalty area, to the top of the penalty area, to the right of the penalty area, and we display cards in different parts of the field where they're supposed to get to and be able to make calls. So either with players or without players, it can be simulated, the type of thing, the type of movement and action that is required for the game itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yep, you're welcome.
Great, thank you. It is so cool that, believe it or not, even though we're covering distance and angles, we're still going back to the other, we're covering every single aspect, main aspects of refereeing, which are the technical aspect, which is knowing the laws, knowing the rules, right? The physical aspect, which is going to allow you to take that position, the right position. Also the tactical aspect, which is something new, fairly new. We've been working on that for the past probably 15 years or so, which had to do with a lot of what Chris been saying, with knowing coaches, coaching techniques, right? Which is going to allow us to kind of read the game. And then the final aspect, which is the psychological one. So once you're there, right, being ready and get ready to deal with what's coming to you, dealing with the conflict, dealing with those emotions. It's just amazing that today's clinic is about angles and distance, but yet we always group in the three main aspects of refereeing: the technical, tactical, physical, and psychological aspect. Isn't that amazing, Chris?
That is for sure. It's everything kind of tangles together.
So we're going to bring in Andrew here. Andrew Kennedy is another young referee. Andrew, you're on the line, and your question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Chris, we met at a MASL game up in Rochester, New York, back late January.
Yes, I remember.
I saw in the clip of you in the 2018 final, there were a couple of times when the attacking player was coming from the wide, at the left side, so that your quadrant coming in, going to goal from out really far wide. As a young referee, I've always been taught you want to be able to see between those two players, the defender, the attacker, to be able to watch that. And so you're going to be trailing them, kind of being pretty far wide. In the clips, I'm seeing that you're more central, kind of in line with that, with the top of the D, watching them as they're coming in. You're kind of looking, you're farther inside. What's the rationale behind that, staying a little bit farther inside?
I think the rationale there is when they're out wide and they're outside of, if you took the penalty area and drew lines down the field, right? You kind of created that box. If they're outside of those lines, there's obviously less probability of a big decision, right? So we tend to stay a little more central on the left side of the penalty area, because when they finally come into the penalty area, we want to be in the right spot to make that decision, right? So I think what you're seeing is you see me prioritize a decision in the penalty area over a decision outside on the flank, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, for sure.
All right, great. Let's see if we have any more questions. No, we're all good with questions.
All right.
Any final notes on angles and distance? Let's see. Nope. Chris, any final words?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me. And obviously, if anybody has any questions after this, they're welcome to email me at any time.
We will forward your email if you don't mind. I'm sure somebody's going to email you questions. We actually have a lot of email questions. I've just gone through them. So I'm just going to forward them to you as well as Esse's questions. So again, Essie, thank you very much. And Chris, thank you for both of you spending time with us, all this time with us, sharing your experiences and your knowledge and being so humble. You didn't have to do this. You could have just stayed home and watching some reruns of, Friends or something else. But instead, you decided to come in and share your knowledge. So we really, really appreciate that.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure. Anytime we are with the refereeing family, it's a great occasion. So we are here, one family together, and God bless everyone. Stay safe, and we cannot wait to get this thing behind us and over with, so we get back to the field, the place where we belong, and we love to be out there. So stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Essie. And
Agreed.
Chris, thank you very much.
Yep,
Thank you very much. All right, to close up, let's remind everybody that May is Huntington's Disease Awareness Month. So tomorrow, when we do our replay of the of today's show, we'll give away some of those HD wristbands. So tomorrow is going to be at 1 p.m. Facebook Live, and we'll give away some of those. And next week, tune in next week, 6:30. We'll have Paul Tamburino. We'll have Dalibor and Dr. Donald Wilbur. And next week's topic is going to be mental preparation and readiness. So with this, I'll leave you all until next week. Have a beautiful weekend and stay safe, stay healthy, and have a beautiful night. Thank you again.